Night 1 of Week 7 of Term 2 on the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club and the last edition of Monday Night Motorsport for the mad month of May. And how appropriate that the starting point for this Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport is the United States, which was at the forefront of the attention of world motorsport fans in the early hours of this morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to end the day at the forefront of our focus as far as the entree of Monday Night Motorsport is concerned. Good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world across the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club, be it Facebook, Twitch or YouTube. Welcome to the Belle Isle Grand Prix circuit in Detroit, Michigan for round 7 of Waste Options GT4. And a 25-minute sprint race ahead of us here. We're looking at somewhere in the vicinity of 16 laps tonight for these guys based on the time certainty factor of it and the lap times that we're seeing in qualifying thus far. Good field in the house on this 3.76 kilometre course, 34 degrees. The track temperature, a very pleasant 21 degrees, the ambient. We're just past 4:40 in the afternoon local server time, and the wind is up at around 16 kilometres an hour as well. Bugger all humidity to speak of. I'm Zach Caban, alongside me, not only Adam Lavis, but also Liam Banks. As we get to the business end of the season now, Banksy, GT4 has served up absolute brilliance each and every week thus far. There hasn't been a race that's disappointed to this point of the championship. We've got 4 rounds to go on 4 completely different circuits. And this could be a make or break round for some of these championship contenders that we're seeing on our screen here. Look at that. 54 points covers the top 5 at the moment. You can just about put a red line through the rest of them. This is a race in 5. Michael hammered a long shot at the moment, but 54 points. 2 points of interest here. This is such an unforgiving racetrack. It could be make or break as far as championship campaigns are concerned tonight. 2, when we get to the end of the round, Adam Lavis is going to be very busy on the calculator because tonight's the night where drop rounds finally get thrown into the mix and we get an indication of where things stack up once those drop rounds are added. So plenty to play for tonight and plenty of intrigue about it as well.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race. Every race so far for GT4 Championship, as you've already said, has been phenomenal. And Belle Isle is just one of those tracks because of the peril of the walls, because of the bumps. It just throws up surprising races each and every time. It's an absolutely wonderful circuit, one of my favorite circuits in the Americas. And don't worry, for anyone that hasn't watched the Indy 500, I haven't watched it either, so this will be a spoiler-free zone for the length of the stream. And if it's not, well, I will be very sad. Good to see some of the championship protagonists up there at the front. Sam Muir in second, Jared Knight on pole.
Let's have a look at that grid for you. Jared Knight and Sam Muir, the front row. So championship contenders left, right and centre here. Jordan Malcolm, Michael Hammond, the second row. Richard King and Nick Fodiatis in one of his better showings in qualifying so far this season. He loves this circuit. There's no doubt about that. The Porsche's there on the outside of the third row. And watch for him to follow the 007 through Sam Chapman and Nick Wood, the championship leader from row 4. Dale Sharp and Dane Snudden from row 5. Don't be too distraught about the fact that Nick Wood is sitting there in 8th place. Don't read too much into that, ladies and gentlemen, because we know that consistency has been the key to his success so far this season. He's the only one of the championship contenders thus far yet to register a race win. He's gone about this in a very calm and methodical manner, and he still leads the championship with only 4 rounds to go. It might only be 10 points, but an inch is as good as a mile in a fight this tight. Row 6. Jeff Adams and Russ Green, Alan Dawson and Jake Jackson from 7, Stephen Lawrence and David Christensen from 8, Josh Maynard, Paul Wood from 9, Robert McGrath and Paul Nichols from row 10. Row 11, Dan Woods and Josh Millard, row 12, Wayne Edwards and Sean Rees, row 13, Brian Bullock and Eduardo Zamora, row 14, Greg Padgett and Adam Johnson, and 15 will be John Simpson and Brendan Sober. Zamora is starting from pit lane. Let's get to work. No mucking around. Monday Night Motorsport, but thanks to Waste Options underway. And look at John and Malcolm ranging up on the inside already of Sam Muir, trying to go side by side through turn 1. That often breeds trouble. Malcolm hanging tough, hung out to the wall, has no choice but to tuck back in. Muir defending Hammond now. Got to be mindful of Malcolm down the inside, and this is allowing Knight to bolt. Malcolm to the inside at 3. Can't get it done. Muir goes wide and just gathered it up, but he's opened the door in that mistake-riddled moment to allow Malcolm through to second. Michael Hammond, Richard King and Nick Fodiatis follow through. So we've had a safe start on the streets of Detroit.
Yeah, safe start, and the car's going 2 by 2 by 2. I don't think I've ever seen a start at Belle Isle when everyone's actually got through safely. With all those bumps and drivers wanting to get the move done early, where it's probably one of the best opportunities, it just always seems to be chaos. But it just shows the pass of this field that everyone's managed to get through. A few changes up and down the field, but literally not a single person's dropped multiple spots. Zamora started from the pit lane, he's down 4, and he's the biggest loser. Otherwise, you've got people that are down 2, but everybody else has either stayed where they are or gone up 1 or 2 positions. Despite pretty much no one getting to go through the first 3 or 4 corners single file. They are, however, now single file as we get to the tight, tricky, technical middle section of the track. Oh, there he is.
There's the first bit of trouble.
That's Russ Green and
Nick
Nick
Wood,
Wood.
that's the championship leader. There's Nick Wood. We've mentioned how this could be a championship defining round, and the championship leader finds himself in the wall. Can you believe that? Jared Knight leads, the margin already out to 1-7. Now more trouble. No! Here we go! Watch out! Bang!
Oh, don't do
That's
that!
Paul Nichols! 1, 2, 3! He's been hit more times than Elvis from pillar to post! Oh my goodness gracious me! The fireworks have let off early on the Belle Isle circuit. Lap 2, and so much drama here. Jordan Malcolm and Sam Muir still arguing over second. We pick up the battle for 9th with Darrell Sharp and Jeff Adams all over the back of Dane Snowden. Have a look at that. Sharp down the inside to 8th. Snowden back to 9th, then Jeff Adams, Alan Dawson, Stephen Lawrence, Jake Jackson and David Christensen. There's 7 of them in a freight train at the moment. And they've got a little bit more company further back on that as well. Down on the inside comes Jake Jackson on Stephen Lawrence. Now Lawrence, does he keep his wits about him here and let Jackson through cleanly? No, he actually fends him off around the outside. Or a red flag, but of course iRacing doesn't have them yet. Surely it can't be too far away. Once they get their heads around the rain circuit, then they're promising for about a year, they might go to red flags as well.
That'd be incredibly interesting just to see how they, Medic, one of those collisions where you're thankful that it is sim racing and not real world, because if it was the real world, I think you'd be scared for the health of some of those drivers. That's somebody coming out of the pit lane. I think it's probably Nick Wood coming out of the pit lane, but deciding just to let some of the cars through because they don't want to get involved, get in the middle of any of this chaos. But with the amount of chaos we've already seen so far, you wouldn't rule anyone that's had a crash quite out of getting at least some decent points, because we've seen so much drama after one lap. We're going to see a lot more, and so much drama after we were just praising everybody for being so clean for the first half a lap. I think they heard us and they took it personally.
Yes. Adam Johnson on pit road at the moment. Greg Padgett, Paul Nichols, Nick Wood have already visited pit road, and Eduardo Zamora is out of the race. He's the first retirement here. Now this is what happened to Nick Wood. Turn 12, opening lap. And when the pack is that well bunched up, spinning right in the middle of them, you're always going to get T-boned in one way, shape or form. And then he got another help on the way out for good measure.
Yeah, not a safe rejoin. You can understand this thinking there is desperate to get back in the race. He's built his whole championship challenge based on being consistent, wants to get back into it, and that was just a bit of silliness on the straight, really.
Well, to be fair, there was already a crunch of the... Well, yeah. Nico got treated like a pinata there in the back end of that. But actually that started with a car that got incredibly lucky earlier in the piece. It was up against the wall. Excuse me. And Greg Padgett, either he didn't see it or he had nowhere to go. I'm not sure which one. Yeah, Nico was up against the wall and he tapped the car on the outside into the wall on the inside.
Yeah, so that tap just slows it down a little bit, doesn't it? And puts him alongside the car behind, and there's a tap at the rear. It's really hard when you're pack racing like that to avoid contact, particularly if you're not used to it. It's not something we see. I mean, we do see pack racing in the GT4s, but even that close is rare. Really, it's quite a skill in itself to be able to run that close to other cars and stay safe, but yeah, really hard one to to call. I think there's a few things that all of the drivers involved could have done there, and I think Paul Nicholls is a bit unlucky to be the one that actually suffered the most from that by far.
So, let's cover off a couple of things here. We're on lap 4 already, 134.90, the fast lap of the race for Jared Knight. You can see that lit up in purple and green at the bottom of your screen there as well. The point was raised about that's a safety car. Well, the track wasn't technically fully blocked, and they were able to get away from there before the field had come round. So that's the reason why the yellow wasn't deployed. We've seen it deployed for similar incidents here, but usually with a few more cars involved. And the other point as well, Eduardo Zamora, I've just seen a comment come up on the Discord server to say that his internal iRacing server at his end froze, and that's been the extent of his troubles tonight. That's why he's out of business. So Jared Knight, the lead up, and already some moral support coming in there as well for the 221 and Dale Sharp.
Yeah, we'll see.
Family tuning in, and that's the thing. It has become a favourite family pastime, tuning in to watch their members, their fathers, their sons, their brothers, their cousins, whatever the case may be, go around on a Monday night. It has been a ritual for 13 seasons now, and we're loving every second of this Waste Options GT4 Championship. Have a look at the fight for second, Liam. Jordan Malcolm under pressure, severe, serious pressure from Sam Muir and Michael Hammond. But that's the only real battle igniting within the top 8 at the moment. Nick Fadialis is not quite yet within striking distance of Sam Chapman, but he is close.
Look at the quality of the drivers, fight for second. Jordan Malcolm, Sam Muir, Mikey Hammond, all of them absolute titans of this series, all of them in the championship battle. These laps, whoever wins this battle between the three of them, that could be crucial come 3 races time when we reach the end of the season. And I'd just like to address a point that was made in the comments. First of all, I'd like to second what you were saying. It's absolutely lovely when we hear who you're supporting, why you're supporting them, what your relation is to them, or how you became fans of the GT4 series. That's just not racing room.
Giving a helping hand to the car in front.
So please do tell us who you're supporting. Give us a shout out for why you're watching. But also there was a comment saying that he shouldn't have moved after the crash, and I agree. I don't think we've seen a safe rejoin yet, and that's part of what's caused the chaos. On that first lap, you really do have to wait for the whole pack to go through. It sucks. It's horrible waiting there. It feels like forever. I can understand why they do try and get going before it's quite safe, but it is that's what we expect.
And there's an even bigger story brewing here as well. You just saw it at the bottom of your screen there, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Knight has gone around Nick Wood. The championship leader is a lap down in this car race. And all of these 3 men behind Knight, be they Malcolm, Muir and Hammond respectively, will be very much aware of the situation of Nick Wood at the moment. And they will be going about their business as cautiously but as aggressively as they possibly can. I know that sounds stupid to use those 2 words in the same sentence. They've got to attack because every point is vital in this championship fight, but they need to keep it clean at the same time to make Wood pay to the maximum tonight as far as this title race is concerned. So they will all be aware of the importance of, at any cost, getting to the checkered flag and doing so and taking the maximum haul of points available.
Yeah, what's going to save Nick Wood to a degree, as long as he keeps it clean for the rest of the season, is that he's been so consistent this season. This will certainly be one of his drop rounds. So this result is certainly not going to count for Nick Wood. What it does mean he's got less margin for error across the last few rounds of the championship. He can only afford one more mistake after this round before it really starts affecting his championship points. And he needs, because he hasn't got those wins, you would suspect that when drop rounds come into account, it's going to have other drivers more than him because he hasn't got those big results, the first, seconds, the thirds. He's got lots of fourths, fifth, sixth, and a third, I believe. So he really, if he can get just one win in the last few rounds, you think that'd be enough to put him in the championship hunt. But yeah, that's what he's going to have to do if he wants to win this championship, because this is one opportunity that has gone away from him after that incident on lap 1, but he will do what he can to try and recover some points just in case the rest of the championship doesn't go his way. People that don't need to recover are Malcolm, Muir and Hammer Time. He cannot be separated I don't think we can get a camera shot without all three of them in. That's how close they are together. And we're now swapping to look at Dale Sharp. He's in 8th place. He's up 1 spot. He's got Dane Snadden ahead of him. He's up 3 spots from 10th to 7th, having a great race. And this is basically the start of the pack, which includes 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. None of these cars are more than a second away from each other, and then they've got a tiny bit of a gap to 11th, which is David Christensen. All these drivers having good races and going up spots so far.
So Nick Wood, that's the story at the moment. And there's a battle brewing behind that top pack of cars at the moment. Sam Chapman and Nick Podiatis in a fight for 15. Snadden fending off Dale Sharp, Alan Dawson, Stephen Lawrence at the moment. And this is what happened to Paul Nichols. Another moment for Nico. Struggling to pull himself up, but thankfully not impeding any other competitors in the process. And that will be Nico into retirement. Frustrating for the 001. Really, that night started rough and only got worse after that opening lap shunt. It's always hard in these races, Liam, to recover when you have an incident on the opening lap and you're not in that pit window. You come in, you get the fast repair, you're on the tow rope, you lose all that chunk of time. Then you've also got to come back and pay a second invoice to do the mandatory splash and dash if you want to actually get to the checkered flag under your own steam in the first place. So these are those sorts of races where if you run into trouble early, you've made a rod for your own back for the rest of the night.
Yeah, you really have it. It's one of those races. You called it before we started, Belle Isle. Such a difficult track, such a punishing track. It's one of those races where you're going to get a few where just they don't get the rub of the green. They're just not on form. Whatever happens, for some reason they end up in the barrier, like I said early on. And we're always going to get a few retirements right this race. But that's why we love Belle Isle. That's why we love the tracks with the walls, because that's how it should be. You make a mistake. That's motor racing. You can't afford to make mistakes. Mistakes are costly in motor racing. We rely on mistakes being costly to generate good racing. If they don't cost you anything, then nobody can overtake. You don't get any drama, and that's why we love the good street tracks like Belle Isle is, and I'm absolutely gutted it's not on the IndyCar calendar this year.
Although that being said, we are excited to see what the new downtown Detroit street circuit offers up next week, and how quickly iRacing will be to laser scan it for our own enjoyment going forward. Into the wall!
No.
Oh, actually, no. Kept it off the wall.
He's already been somewhere else.
Adam Johnson. He caught the grass and then went pirouetting, but did well to keep it off the wall.
There's Sam Muir alongside
Here we
Jordan
go. Muir down the inside. Can he take Hammond with him? Have a look at Mikey ranging up on the rear of Jordan Malcolm there. But whatever the case, Sam Muir, after posting his own PB of the night, finds his way into second spot again. So the top 4 remain where they started after, well, can you believe that? Jeez, that got away from us bloody quickly, Liam Banks. We're already half race distance and then some.
Also, another interesting fact, the Mercedes boys have been complaining all season with the bit of weight they got to try and even them out, but they're hard to get out of the slow corners. This being a stop-start track, you think there would be all slow corners, but the two Mercedes have got the rest of the 2 Porsches at the moment.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Good spot, Adam. That's, yeah, that is a bit interesting. We'll certainly will have to talk to them and find out what's going on there if we can after the race. I was actually going to point out that Jared Knight not pulling away. I thought he might. He had a 3-second lead early on, but it hasn't kept going. So either he's just matching his pace to the cars behind, or he just hasn't got the pace to get the legs on these guys. We'll wait and see. But that fight for the victory, it's not over yet. 2.6 seconds can disappear very, very quickly around a track like this.
Oh, both Porsches the ball.
Oh, jeez. Millimeters away from disaster.
What I think it might be is the Mercedes is naturally good over bumps, and this track is one of the bumpiest. So that might be where it's making its time back.
That's a good hypothesis. I'll back that. Tell you what, there's Robert McGrath, I think, has come unstuck. He's just dropped 2 positions on my timing screen. There we go. Losing his bumper, another one in the wall. That is a Mercedes bumper on the track.
Oh dear.
What's he done? Is he tapped the car ahead?
He's just looped it. He's just lit it up, and the Mercedes has fired him into the wall.
As Martin Brundle will see, a mission ahead of Adhesion. I was going to say something I haven't say in a while, actually. Bring that back, Martin, if you're listening. That's a long shot, but you know, you never know.
Would he be listening on a Monday night? on the back of no doubt having a couple of coldies in the Principality of Monaco last. I'm not sure. I'm not
I like
sure.
to think he's got better things
to
do.
It's only 5 minutes to midday over there on a Monday afternoon, or a Monday morning for the next 5 minutes at least.
So,
A lot of sore heads this morning, no doubt, whether they were celebrating in Monaco or Indianapolis overnight, or into the morning Australian time, of course. We're all weary-eyed, catching our breath. No doubt going to sleep well tonight, pretty much as soon as the broadcast is done.
So Nick's currently the leader of the hitters. I think Richard King in the background clipped the wall coming out of turn 4. So hope you didn't get any damage at that.
Jordan Malcolm in. Jordan Malcolm in at the end of lap 10. Just as Knight, Muir and Hammond continue on. Muir punches out the best number of the night thus far, a 1:34.56.
And at 2.6 second gap, he's taken out 6 tenths on that lap from Jared Knight. It's down to just under 2 seconds. So Sam Muir showing the pace to make this at least a 2-car battle for the win. Stephen Lawrence now in the pits as well. Just wanted to call out the job that Sean Rees is doing. Up 12 spots, was up 14. He's in that battle with Nick Ferdiadis and Richard King that we just had on screen, and just ended up behind him. But he's driving a good race so far, although look for that to correct itself a little bit, because there is a lot of cars behind him that have pitted. Like you said, Jordan Malcolm now is the leader of the pits. He's come out well ahead of Nick Ferdiadis by about 7 seconds. And below Jordan Malcolm, just about every car is pitted. There's just a few in there that haven't. Joshua Maynard, Sean Rees, Wayne Edwards, Brian Bullock, and Brandon Soper, the ones that haven't pitted. And then the top 6, Jared Knight down to Dane Stadden, they all have not pitted. Look for them to pit in the next lap or two.
We're on lap 11. We're at the 17-minute mark of the race. 8 to go. About 7 minutes and 50 seconds. It's 5 laps around here based on those 1 minute 34 lap times. So next time by the line, including the splash and dash as Jared Knight comes in now, will be 5 to go. So 16's that cut-off, that magical bingo number. I called that from the outset, so you can check that off your bingo card if you're playing along at home, ladies and gentlemen. 16, the magic number at the Belle Isle circuit this evening. Don't forget, of course, we've got we're staying in America tonight. It's fitting. We're going to one of the other great racetracks of the USA. We're going to the Watkins Glen Boot circuit very shortly. GT3. Which split tonight, Adam, please?
Pro split.
Excellent. Back to the top flight. Looking forward to that immensely. Matty Dench already a country mile ahead, but the battle for the minor placing is well worth keeping an eye on. Have a look at this now. We've got cars heading towards pit lane. We've got both Dane Snadden, Josh Maynard, Wayne Edwards and Brian Bullock all making their way into the lane at the moment.
So
Brendan Soper yet to stop. Here's another one. So Nick Wood, Greg Padgett are still a lap down. Robert McGrath is now 2 laps down, but showing as though he's not moving, so he's out of business. Adam Johnson, Paul Nichols, Eduardo Zamora, all done for the night. So 4 retirements, 2 cars at least. There could be a couple more there. A lap down.
So to think, Mikey's jumped Jordan in the pits, and he's also closed the gap to Jared as well in that phase. So it's down only 1.1 seconds.
Now this is exciting. So Sam Muir, Sam Chapman and Alan Dawson get the stop. Muir's in now. Muir is in now. We're about to get an indication as to where he comes out in relation to Knight, Hammond, Malcolm. They're the 3 contenders. Nick Ferdiadis giving Richard King a great hurry up through this little stadium section of the circuit. Turns 9, 10, 11 and 12. Round 13 comes Jared Knight across the start-finish line. Sam Muir still in his pit box. We'll wait to see when he moves. Now he goes. He's on his way. Muir's on his way. Knight sweeping around the first corner. It's going to be neck and neck as they come through turn 2. But Knight has got the job done, albeit by the narrowest of margins. And we've got a race in for bragging rights on the Belle Isle circuit, Detroit, Michigan. Here we go. Knight the leader. 4 laps to go. Hold your breath.
I'll tell you what. Sam Muir took a shorter pit stop as well, only 7.98 seconds stationary compared to 9.37 for Jared Knight. That's what the extra lap did for him. It wasn't enough. And we talked about how Hammer Time managed to jump Jordan Malcolm. Well, that's because he had a shorter stop as well. His stop only 8.3 seconds compared to 9.5 for Jordan Malcolm.
That's right.
That was the difference. That is how Mikey Hammond managed to jump Jordan Malcolm. And Sam Muir has had phenomenal pace ever since he got into second place. I cannot wait to see him trying to get past Jared Knight.
And more to the point, Sam Muir has to be very mindful of who's on his tail at the moment. It is Michael Hammond, one of the great masters of this craft in GT4. And he is going to be SMSing Muir before too long. And more to the point, Jordan Malcolm somewhat needs these guys to engage in battle if he's going to get back into it, because he's dropping off ever so slightly, ever so gradually, sector by sector at the moment. Now 1.4 off the train.
The other thing that helped Mikey is even though his stop wasn't quite as fast as me, but his transit time was a second faster.
Knowing your pit lane entry, vitally important in this caper. A second is a huge margin when it's so tight at the top end of town. And now look at this, 1 second covers the top three. Malcolm can consolidate fourth from there. I don't think he's going to get back into it unless something happens up front. Jordan Malcolm has 7 seconds on Sam Chapman, who has 3.5 on Nick Fodiatis, who has got by Richard King. That's the battle for 6th and 7th. King has dropped in behind Fodiatis, and that's how it happened on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. The run to turn 1, the waste options replay. Fodiatis beautifully executed overtaking manoeuvre.
Yeah, Nick Fodiatis putting together one of his best weekends yet in this category. Like you said, he did a better qualifying than we've seen recently, and putting together the race to go with it in 6th place, and well deserved.
Great stuff. Now look at King, still all over the back of Fodiatis. And they're both using all the curb, and that unsettles both cars. You don't want to get over enthusiastic on those curbs. You need to respect them because they can so easily unsettle the car, and we know what's waiting either side of the bitumen here. It is concrete, and it's hard as well.
It is hard concrete, and it's harder concrete than the concrete we had at Road Atlanta yesterday for the Endurance Championship. Plenty of cars hitting the wall and somehow managing to continue. It was quite incredible. You'd watch a car go in at what seemed like full power, like, well, they're retired, and then they just drive off with just a tiny bump. You're like, what is going on here?
Well,
I'll just come back to the comment we made. Nick Fodiatis, his best finish so far this season is at 8th place, so this would be breaking new ground for him. So fingers crossed he can keep hold of 8th, or maybe only keep hold of the 6th, or maybe only lose the 1 spot if he loses a spot. Another person I want to call out is Sam Chapman. He's had a bit of a up and down season. Yeah. We're currently putting together a great race in 5th, but now is the time to focus on this battle for the front because we have 2 laps remaining.
It's probably Nick had that really good run at Jerez, where he's on for the podium until got caught up in an incident. So he's had a couple of rounds where he's found some pace.
Oh, absolutely he has.
Mikey just went deep there. He's lost some time.
And he has. And now Jared Knight has to withstand the pressure of Sam Muir. He's done a nice job of controlling this race, Knight, but now he's under the ultimate pressure with a lap and a quarter to go. They're coming to the white flag. 2 corners left on this, the penultimate lap. White flag in the air and flying. 1 to go at the Grand Prix of Belle Isle Circuit in Detroit, Michigan. Waste Options GT4 Monday Night Motorsport on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Round 7 of the campaign. And Muir is going to put the ultimate pressure on Jared Knight here. Will want to find a way through and bag the win at the death. But Knight is defending as though his life depends on it, and rightly so, given how tight the championship is. Muir to the outside! Muir to the outside! Can he hold it around the outside? He's in the grass! Knight holds on for now! And now, as a result of these 2 engaging in battle, look who's lurking! Look who's lurking! Michael Hammond's right there, ready to swoop and pounce at the death if he has to! Knight, crucial, the run out of this corner. to set up the back straight, because that is one of the last, if not the last, legitimate overtaking opportunity on the circuit. And Muir will throw everything at it as they get down to the left, to the right hand of the braking zone. Knight manages to hold on momentarily. Has he done enough to get this one in the bag? It would be his third win of the season, I think I'm right in saying. Have a look at how tight the top three are once again. Waste Options GT4 delivering entertainment plus on a Monday night, setting us up for the main course with a very scintillating and enticing entree. Round they come. Jared Knight is going to lead the field home and bag a very valuable, important win. Vitally important win in Waste Options GT4. Knight gets the job done in Detroit. Muir second, Hammond third. 0.68 of a second covers the top three, and Jordan Malcolm fourth. Sam Chapman bags yet another top five finish. Richard King found his way back past Nick Fodiatis, who gets maybe a lucky or unlucky seventh. We'll find out from him very shortly. Dale Sharp home for a top 10 finish out of Alan Dawson and Paul Wood. Woodsy continues his return to GSRC competition with another top 10, and he gained 8 spots to snag it as well. Something about GT4 Liam Banks this season that is leaving us breathless and speechless.
Well, it's the absolute class in the field, isn't it? That's what the difference is, and having so many drivers that can get a win. Nick Wood, he's been spectacular all season. This has been his first miss-hit of the season. Jordan Malcolm, he can get a victory. Jared Knight can get a victory. Sam Muir can get a victory. Michael Hammond, doesn't matter where he starts, he can get a victory. He's so good at overtaking around here. And then you got other players that just pop up every so often. Sam Chapman popping up into the top 5. You've got the likes of Richard King. He's got his best finish of the season at this round. Fantastic drive from him, dealing the position back from Nick Fodiatis at the end after what has been an up and down season for Richard King. Fodiatis himself, this is his best result. He's had an up and down season. There's just so much class in this field and so many drivers. That's why we get great racing every time. And yeah, Dave also doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, Dave Christensen, that was in 15th place. So let's go outside the top 10. Dane Snowden, Jake Jackson, Jeff Adams, Stephen Lawrence and David Christensen. We didn't give those guys too much coverage tonight because there were battles all throughout the top 10 that held our attention and captivated our imagination from first until last. Stephen Lawrence was 14th, David Christensen 15th, then Josh Maynard, Sean Rees, Ben Woods, Russ Green and Wayne Edwards. Back we went to John Simpson. Brian Bullock was a lap down, so too Josh Millard, Brendan Soper and Greg Padgett. Nick Wood got home. Actually, no, he didn't. He's showing here as 14.75. 14.75 laps. He hasn't taken the checkered flag. Did he run out of fuel on the run to the line? That's what I'm thinking. He might have run out of fuel on the way to the line, in which case he would get classified because he's past the 75% threshold, which was 12 laps. Then Robert McGrath was a retirement, so too Adam Johnson, Paul Nichols and Eduardo Zamora on a game-changing night as far as this championship's concerned. And I just want to correct myself. Jordan Malcolm has 2 wins. That was Jared Knight's second to level up with him. We've also saw Sam Muir, Michael Hammond, Neville Mell, I believe, all in the winner's circle so far this season. It's been a captivating 7 weeks of the campaign. Nick Wood yet to score a win, but he'll be quick to put this one behind him, I would suspect. Let's bring Jordan Malcolm in at this point in time, Liam, and have a chat to one of our key championship contenders here. Jordan, I don't know where to start with summarising that, mate, because that was breathtaking stuff. Such intensity at the top end of the field. The top 4 all covered by about a second and a half there at the end of the pit sequence. And unfortunately, you ever so gradually lost the trail, lost the tow, lost the train there at the back end and consolidated 4th, mate. But vitally important in the greater scheme of things to just bring the car home in one piece and bag as many points as possible tonight.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I know last season just had a miss-up with another driver in this at this exact track, so just a matter of getting through that race. Yeah, unfortunately lost out in the pit stop sequence. I set my fuel pre-race, and shout out to iRacing Auto Fuel, who decided to put 2 laps extra in. So,
Oh no.
shout out to the Auto Fuel, another useless thing iRacing's added that's not rain. So, yeah, apart from that, just didn't really have the pace of the Merc boys. Obviously Hammond did, so it wasn't the cars, it was me. So. Anyway, we'll reload and go again, try and recover the best we can in Spa.
And that is going to be a completely different playing field compared to what we've had this week. Of course, Oran Park then follows, and then on to Sandown. So we're in very familiar territory for the last 3 rounds of the season. Oran Park and Sandown, of course, great grand final venues and enduro venues in Australian motorsport, steeped in history. Spa-Francorchamps, a great circuit for GT and sports car racing. So we've got a very good run home ahead of us. Can you believe just how intense I mean, they're only 25-minute races, but every single one of them has been intense from first until last, Jordan, and every single one of them has probably increased in entertainment value as the season has gone on. Would that be a fair comment to make?
Yeah, that'll be a fair comment to make. Even last week, even when I've been there, I still enjoyed myself. Even the sound clip when you called me off in the gravel, that's now made a sound clip in another Discord I'm in. So, so they keep playing that now. But yeah, it's been so fun this season. As you said a few weeks ago, eliminate Dench and you have a really good season.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I guess also, very early in the piece, you would have been aware of the misfortunes for the championship leader, Nick Woods. So, I mean, it was interesting to observe how the top 4, the other championship contenders, went about their business from that point forward. You guys kept it remarkably clean, knowing full well what was at stake there, given the troubles that Nick had.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Nick. I saw a lap car approaching us, and I read the name, and I was like, oh, geez, had a rough one. So, unfortunate what happened to Nick, but yeah, unfortunately, I think that's going to be a drop round, but he's been super consistent all year, so.
A few other words you could add to before and probably after rough for Nick Wood, but we're not yet in that safe zone of 7:30 Western time, so I can't actually let slip any fruity language at this point. And there it is right there again. So 2 incidents in the space of about 50 metres for Nick Wood, and that was, it was a long road back from there. Jordan, Spa, how do you think the little car of yours is going to go around there, given that, I mean, we don't know exactly what to expect from the Merc and the Aston, but your car has been rather adaptive and versatile across the course of the season thus far, and you've got 2 wins to your name. Can you bag another one on the high horsepower circuit of Spa?
I highly doubt it. I may have to deliberately brake check someone to try and get that rear wing off to increase that drag. But no, it'll be hard, but we'll give it our best shot.
All right, mate. Very nicely done. We'll keep moving around the room here because we've got GT3 standing by at the bottom of the hour, and we've got a couple of other drivers to have a chat to just yet. Thanks for that. Well done. You're still very much in this championship fight, and it's a 5-horse race going into the final 3 rounds of the season. We'll stick around because you'll get an indication as to where things sit after drop rounds are added to the equation or incorporated into the equation in just a few moments. Let's press on here. We've got Paul Wood standing by. I might go to him first, actually. I'm coming to you in a moment. Race winner Jared Knight. Woodsy, nice to have you back with us. The comeback continues, mate. Another top 10 finish. Had to work hard for that one, though. No race is easy around here, but especially when you're starting mid to back pack as you were. 18th tonight, and you worked your way into the top 10. Well done.
Yeah, the old Bailey Ladders Porsche served me well tonight. I was feeling really good. They made one little change in qualifying that just I couldn't quite get the comfort back again, and I switched it back, and just once it was gone, it was gone. But overall, good race. I'm pretty happy with it. Starting to feel a little more comfortable, but yeah, very tough battle. That was even though it's nice and cold here, that was a hot, sweaty race. So it's good fun. I always enjoy the street circuit. They make for some good racing, and yeah, just happy I could stay out of trouble, and yeah, glad I made the positions that I did. I was getting a bit worried at first. I thought it was going to be a slow old crawl, but then I started to make some gains just after the halfway mark. So yeah, all in all, good race.
And I guess you've blended back into this GT4 caper as though you never left, mate. It seems to be a comfy fit for you.
I do like the cars. They're fun cars. You can have some real good door-to-door racing. It's for me at the moment, it's a comfortable one. It's not too fast, but it's not too slow. So it's just a good, nice, easy one to get my feet back in the water again, get them wet, get used to everything, and then yeah, step back into the GT3s and a couple of the other categories once I get a little more comfortable and a little more healthy. So all in all, so far it's going well. So yeah, be looking good to see what I can get involved with next season.
And nabbing a decent result on an unforgiving circuit like this is all the more rewarding, isn't it?
Yes, it's always good. It's you're always on tenterhooks going around, especially in the beginning. There was a lot of cars doubled up, and you're just keeping your eyes peeled because it's very hard to avoid incidents if other people get caught up in them. So you got to keep your eyes peeled down the road as well as what's happening right in front of you. So yeah, managed to get through, managed to keep the car clean, and overall, yeah, fun little race, and they're fun cars. So.
All right, mate. Spa's always a good one, and given what we've seen dished out so far in GT4 this season, there's a lot to be excited about next Monday night, and we know that the field size has fluctuated. We know that Spa's a hugely popular circuit, so we're expecting traffic and action aplenty. Yeah,
it should be good. It's always a good track, Spa, especially good with bigger fields as well, because then there's just battles up and down the field and all around the track. But I think the Porsche is going to struggle a little bit there, just with the lack of straight line speed. But yeah, the last couple of races have been really good with the tighter circuits, which has worked for the car. But next week's going to be interesting. We'll see what we can do. Again, I'll go out, I'll just do the best I can and see what we can come back with. Hopefully find a little more pace and yeah, just keep the consistency going.
All right, mate. Very nicely done. Thank you for that. Looking forward to seeing you next Monday night.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
There he is, Paul Wood, going gangbusters as per usual. And doing what he does so well, Liam Banks. And I hesitate to say it. I'm just having a look. Only one driver in this field managed to move up more than Paul Wood, and it was John Simpson from 30th up to 21st, up 9 spots. Paul Wood up 8 and Sean Rees up 7, the biggest movers of the night. And doing it the way that he normally does, the way we've come to expect from Paul Wood. He starts out deep, buried in the pack. Qualifying doesn't always go to plan for him, but then he just slowly chips away at it, minds his business, and quietly creeps up through the order and bags a top 10 result, pushing through in race trim and honing his racecraft has become his superpower, if I can say it, on the platforms of the GSRC, and no different tonight.
Absolutely, and you're right to call it a superpower. It's one of those things that some people have got it, and it takes years to develop it for some people, and other people, they can just do it immediately, and it shows a true racer, doesn't it? You get a lot of people that are really quick over one lap, they can put together a quali lap, but in the race, when it comes to constant wheel-to-wheel action, they tend to buckle under pressure. Paul Wood is the opposite of that. He comes alive, doesn't he, when he's got cars to chase, and he just goes and gets them.
Absolutely, he does. Let's press on here to the race winner, Jared Knight, and we've got Sam Chapman standing by for a chat as well. Jared, well done, mate. Another win, and an important one at that as well, given the state of play in the championship here. You needed to make every post a winner, given that Nick Wood had a 10-point advantage on everybody, and then as soon as he ended up in trouble, I sensed that you blokes that were still left there at the top end of the tree, the top 4, yourself, Sam, Michael Hammond and Jordan Malcolm all knew the importance of just getting to the checkered flag, irrespective of the result, but all the more important for you that it was the W in the end.
Yeah, definitely, Zach. It was unfortunate what happened to Nick. I think he might have spun on his own, and then just the narrowness of the track, just a couple of cars finished him off, and Russ Green was unfortunately one of my teammates, and he let me know, and after that I was just all about keeping it off the walls and just trying to manage that gap, and those boys come home with a wet sail. I was hanging on tight at the end there.
Indeed. Let's talk about the early part of the race, because you went through the motions beautifully. You had an advantage. You had a buffer. No one was getting a toe from you. But some tactical play from those behind you meant that they were able to close the gap at the end of the pit sequence, mate. And as you say, you had to withstand some serious pressure from not just one driver, but two.
Yeah, definitely. I think my setup probably had a bit more one-lap pace, and it was probably just losing a bit more tyre. The boys obviously worked nice with each other early in the race and saved a bit of fuel as well, and come out pretty close to me, and just had to manage it with Sammy Muir behind me, and just put the car in the right spots, and knowing how hard it is to pass around this track.
The quality of the racing is like no other in the club this season, mate. GT4 is where it's at the moment. It's serving up main course quality, and it's only the entree on a Monday night. GT3 does well to match whatever you like serve up. Jordan Malcolm's right. Take Dench out of the equation, the floodgates open, and there's 5 or 6 different genuine contenders. But irrespective of that, just the overall quality and the entertainment and the pressure that you guys are under week in, week out, knowing that there are 5 genuine championship contenders, it's got all the right ingredients, hasn't it, with 3 weeks to go?
Yeah, well, I don't know what the standings are like at the moment, but when it's nothing between sort of 5 cars, and we're there you go.
There it is.
Can
you just scroll that up about 3 notches, please, Adam Lavis? There we go. Have a look at that. So I'm coming back to you in a moment, 90. There's the equation, mate. With the downfall, with Nick Wood's shortcoming tonight, it's still 42 points covering the top 5. Jeez, have a look at that is just ludicrous. But you've got a 4-point advantage at the top end of the tree. You can't afford to cough, let's be perfectly honest, because the confidence flutter is all it's going to take to drop you back down off the top step. And you've got 2 Porsche blokes there that desperately want to knock you off that perch. Don't worry about that. 283 for Jordan Malcolm, so he's right there breathing down your neck. Only then a 16-point gap back to Michael Hammond. Top 3 covered by 20 points, and Sam Muir only a stone's throw away as well after that second tonight. And that's the difference, isn't it? The importance now highlighted of you withstanding that pressure and keeping Muir at bay, mate, because he could have been, a few more points up the road. Conversely, it could have been Jordan Malcolm leading the championship had you come across the line second tonight.
Yeah, 100%. I've been saying it for a while, actually. I kind of think this series, just given the constant numbers that it gets, it probably deserves to be a standalone, maybe prime time. I'm not sure if you do it on another night or not, but I think this series is probably the best contested in the club.
I'm going to come back to that point in just a moment, but I just need to reiterate for the benefit of everybody tuning in at home that the race starts at 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, or 7:35 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So technically it does fit in the prime time slot and in prime time everywhere except Western Australia. So, but it's a fair point, and no doubt it'll be something that'll be discussed in a couple of weeks when the committee reconvene to discuss what is ahead for Term 3, which will get underway on Monday, July 10.
Just going to jump in there, Zach.
Adam Lavis.
Yeah, I'm just going to switch to the Be Right Back screen. I'm just going to go into the AM split first to make our race control admin in there, then I'll go to the GT3. So you guys keep on talking. Just going to just to let you know why the Be Right Back screen's up.
Copy that. Thank you. And everybody else will be aware of that now as well. We'll continue chatting here. We've got plenty of time up our sleeve here, guys, so just stay with us. We've got a GT3 race getting underway at the bottom of the hour, and it's 60 minutes around the Glen as well. So back to enduro mode in some way, shape or form tonight, you could say. Jordan, I'll bring you back into the conversation here off the back of what Jared's just said. Do you like the format, or do you think there's room to grow it because of the popularity, because of the quality of it at the moment? Would you support longer races or 2 races or a prime time slot or a main course slot, as I like to call it, as opposed to the entree? And also your thoughts on only being 4 points away at that top end of the tree now, mate.
I enjoyed GT4 racing a lot. It's probably my favourite cars to drive on the iRacing service. So whether it's prime time or not, as long as there's a GT4 series, I'll be in it.
Good boy.
Being 4 points away, yeah, obviously it's going to be heavily contested towards the end. Yeah, it's going to be a good fight between, I think, 5 of us still. And yeah, we'll see what next week brings.
Yeah, don't rule out Michael Hammond just yet. I just get the, and don't rule out Nick Wood either. He'll look to bounce back after that result tonight. There's no doubt. Hey, Jared, your thoughts on Spa? That's the next stop. Horsepower heavy, but at the same time, you got to keep your wits about you because there are a couple of real trouble points on that circuit.
Yeah, as long as we're able to keep it clean, sort of through the, I guess, poo on and whatnot, where it's a bit grip limited. I think the Merc should favour the Merc. It'll let it stretch its legs a little bit, and yeah, I think like Paul Wood mentioned before, the Porsche might just be a bit underpowered, and Geordie said, yeah, you might have to just take the wing completely off and shed a few kilos. But then, yeah, conversely, the following week, the Porsche should be quite dominant at Oran Park, I reckon. So, yeah, it's just going to be a tit for tat until we get to last round.
Very nicely done. I'll let you two go. Thank you for that. We'll move our attention to Sam Chapman in just a moment. But well done, Jared Knight, second winner of the campaign, and well done to you as well, Jordan Malcolm. Let the fight continue over the next 3 weeks, boys. Looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table. Thanks for that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Sam Chapman, another top 5 result for you, mate. I mean, it was a hit and miss start of the season, but you're finishing strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm kicking myself for not doing the full season now. I'm really enjoying the little Porsche. I didn't expect to do, that well around here, but it's come into its own. Great competitive battles out there too. On a really difficult track, it was really good. I reckon I was side by side with Nick Wood for all of the second sector of the first lap.
And in saying all of that, though, mate, the racing at the top end of the tree was fairly intense tonight. I mean, with no disrespect to you, we didn't really get a chance to check in with you throughout the course of the race. That's usually a good sign around this circuit, given how unforgiving it is, that if you've had a quiet night at the office, you've managed to keep your nose clean, and you certainly managed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was relatively clean. I did have a good battle with Nick Fodiatis there for a while too. We were sort of glued together until he pitted and ended up working out for me. I think got stuck in a little bit of traffic. So, kept it clean. It was surprising. I obviously didn't have the pace of those guys up front. They were probably a good, half a second a lap faster. I'd imagine that was a pretty good battle up there though.
Indeed. What are your thoughts on the remaining 3 races, mate? Because obviously there's still a lot to look forward to in this fight, and you'd want to finish the season strong to build some momentum and build some confidence ahead of a full season campaign in Term 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going from Spa to Oran Park is sort of an interesting opposite. And what was the final one? Is it Sandown?
Yeah. So Oran Park will be round 9 and then Sandown for 45 minutes in week 10.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be excellent in these things as well. Good calendar to come. Done obviously lots of laps around Oran Park and Sandown. I don't know if I'll be as competitive around Spa, but we'll see.
All right, mate. And while I've got you two blokes here, you two being, of course, Liam Banks and Sam Chapman, would be remiss of me not to get your take on yesterday's penultimate round of the Login Systems GT3 Endurance Championship on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. The penultimate round of Semester 1, I need to stress as well. There'll be another 5 rounds where that came from in Semester 2, spread across terms 3 and 4. It was Road Atlanta. It was 4 hours, and for those of us that weren't able to be here for whatever reason, be it real-world commitments or whatever, just give us a little bit of a synopsis of how it all unfolded, please.
It was a wonderful race. It was a case of quality over quantity. We only had 12
I did
cars
see
out.
that.
12 cars out, but we had a fantastic race at the front. I think one of the best races I've seen one-on-one in the GSRC with HTS Racing Yellow and trying to get past Vermilion Motorsport. And the whole time they're battling it out for the lead, they made contact, 5 or 6 times, Sam? And
easily, honestly, and it was almost like a bit of Groundhog Day. You'd see the same thing sort of come through, desperately trying to overtake, force, the Vermilion car would force them to the outside line. They'll then get cut off on the chicane again and just touch the back bumper. It was pretty impressive. They kept it together.
It was absolutely incredible, and the whole time they're slowing each other down. HTS Racing Blue running an alternate strategy, the only car to get home on 3 stops instead of 4, and then finally HTS Racing Yellow get past, put in a couple of decent laps, and then Vermilion Motorsport pit. They come out just behind HTS Racing Blue. HTS Racing Yellow come out just behind HTS Racing Blue. So HTS Racing Blue, while Yellow and Vermilion have been fighting, they get into the lead of the race, but then they had to let HTS Racing Yellow pass because they were so marginal on fuel to get home. They needed the help of the slipstream. But it was a pretty breathless last 45 minutes, really, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely was, especially when we're looking at those fuel strategies. We could tell that the Blue had really carefully done it, was hitting 45 laps on every stop, and the other guys were doing about 42, so it was a pretty impressive run.
Yeah, so definitely get in and watch that battle if you can. It was well worth watching.
And it also sets up a scintillating grand final, doesn't it? Mount Panorama Bathurst, 8 hours, Sunday, June 25, where not just championship contenders, bang, one into the wall there as we pick up Sam Muir, as we pick up GT3 pictures coming into you now from Watkins Glen International in upstate New York. More on that in just a moment. But Mount Panorama, you'll have your championship contenders, but because of the circuit, you'll also have a few one-off ring-ins that are just making a cameo appearance for the sake of it.
Oh, yeah. Please do come out. We want every car we can get on the circuit.
Absolutely. The more cars around, for 8 hours as well. The more cars out there, the better. More cars out there, the better for us. I'm not so sure for the competitors, but definitely for us.
Yeah. I'll agree. I've called a couple of real-world races that have gone on for far too long because they didn't have enough cars on the grid. So quantity and quality are important in a race of that length at a circuit that steeped in history. I'll say that much. Boys, thank you. Sam, we'll let you go, mate. Enjoy the rest of the night, and we'll catch up with you later in the week.
Well, thanks.
There he is. Right, let's turn our attention now as this doubleheader Monday night motorsport with thanks to Waste Options continues for you on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube, with thanks to all the great people who make it possible for us to do what we do each and every week of the term, they being Waste Options, Blackout, Electrical Solutions, Login Systems, West Orange Motors, Astute Finance, Fisher and Door Lawyers and Flash Graphics. Yes, we are moving into leg 2 of our Monday night motorsport doubleheader with thanks to Waste Options. Week 7, night 1 of week 7 of term 2. 4 rounds left in this campaign, 5 races. There's only 1 sprint round left in the campaign. We are taking you from Detroit, Michigan to upstate New York, and one of the great venues of world motorsport, probably underrated in many people's opinion, the Watkins Glen International Raceway. And this promises to be an absolute cracker over 60 minutes. We're on the full-length circuit tonight. We're on the boot configuration of the course, not the short shoot, more synonymous with NASCAR Cup racing. I'm intrigued by how this race plays out more than anything else, ladies and gentlemen, because as far as the championship's concerned, one-way traffic at the top end of the summit. Matty Dent is on his way to title number 6, and he could well wrap up in a fortnight's time. That is the sort of form that he's in at the moment. He leads this thing by over 100 points, and you'll see the full points table in just a moment. There's the track and weather conditions for you for this race. I'll get back to the weather and the finer details of that in just a few moments. I just want to focus on the track for a minute. Liam Banks is back with us at this point in time. We'll go to him in just a moment. 21 degrees the ambient and 31 the track. That'll update momentarily. It's a 5.41 kilometre circuit. It's about a minute 42 around here for these cars. A lot of undulation, a lot of elevation, very high speed. Not the most technical racetrack in the world. You do get a couple of tighter corners on that boot configuration of the course, but it is one of those circuits, Liam, that offers no margin for error. There are so many points in which you can come unstuck around here, particularly on the opening lap going up through the roller coaster turns 2, 3 and 4, the right, left, right. If someone comes unstuck there on the opening lap, it more often than not sets off a wreck of epic proportions and a chain reaction, and there are usually innocent bystanders caught up, ending their night. There's the picture as far as the championship's concerned. 395 for Matty Dent, 292 for Simon Cox, who has taken pole position here, it's important to note. Wayne Hewitt third, 286. So look at the battle for second more so than anything else. 6 points in the battle for second. Richard Mitchum, the lone ranger as far as the battle for fourth is concerned. He's got 43 points back to Nick Wood, who has nowhere in the vicinity of any sort of breathing space over Shane Clancy. Just 3 points between them, 221 and 218 respectively. Then a gap back to Matt Stewart and Oscar Glissett, and Glenn Arnott and also Daniel Birchnell making up the top 10. 9 points between Arnott and Birchnell, just 2 between Stewart and Glissett. Circuit information should be updated for us now as the cars line up on the grid getting ready for this 60-minute race. So let's have a look at that now for you. But yes, it's 103 points already for Matty Dench, the advantage at the top end of the summit. We're at, 5:30 in the afternoon. Beautiful, progressive and civilised part of the day there in upstate New York, because you know why? They observe daylight savings. So we will head towards the sunset, but we won't quite reach it. And the server time will be beyond 7:30 local time, Eastern time on the east coast of America there before this race concludes. 12 kilometre an hour winds, 23 the ambient, 31 on track still. Simon Cox and Matty Dent share the front row. Oscar Glissett, Richard Mitchum the second. Wayne Hewitt and Nick Wood the third. Sam Muir and Glenn Arnott the fourth. Jonathan Hooper and Daniel Birchnell from row 5. Row 6. Here's Shane Clancy and Matt Stewart. Row 7, Jordan Malcolm and Shane Bonici. And then Rob Hill and Scott Wooden from 8. Hello, Grant Gill. Nice to have you on board. Yes, I'm hoping to have you grabbing for a second marker by the end of the night. John Wright and Jake Jackson there on row 9. John Jennings and Owen Coleman on row 10. I'll get another box tick for Grant before we get underway. Rob Hill and Scott Wooden, I've already gone through there, so we need to go back to row 11. Sorry. Dave Riddell and Dean Eldridge. Row 12, Jaden Aitchison and Stephen Gallacher. Row 13 is Luke Hay, all on his lonesome, and we are set to go. The big news today, of course, had nothing to do with motorsport whatsoever. One of the great draconian premiers of the COVID era, leader of the Democratic Republic of Western Australia has resigned. So the people of WA no doubt rejoicing tonight as Emperor McGowan shows his way out. Very nicely done. There's another box tick for Grant Gill. Let me move to Liam Banks. So many trigger points around this circuit. So much action potentially about to unfold here, mate. Particularly up through the roller coaster turns 2, 3 and 4. The bus stop, another part of the circuit where these guys often do come unstuck, and plenty of overtaking opportunities. So if the pack stays together tonight, we should be in for an absolute cracking 60 minutes.
Could be in for an absolute cracker, and as always in the GT3 class, one of the crucial things is, can someone, most likely Simon Cox, stay ahead of Matty Dent and stop him from pulling away from the pack and make it a real fight for the victory? You just believe that every time Matty Dent is in this field, if he gets free at the front of the race, that's it. It's game over. It's very hard to overtake, but if you can keep it behind him, he can be beaten. And I'll tell you what, good luck for your voice, because lap 1 is about to get underway.
Indeed it is. Waste options. Monday Night Motorsport now moves into the main course. GT3 round 7, let's go. Great start. Simon Cox moved across to cover off Matty Dench on the run to turn 1. Richard Mitchum and Oscar Glissett side by side, but Glissett holds on for now. Mitchum on the exit. Watch the off-tracks around here as well, because they're very loose with the off-track limits around Watkins Glen. You can use a lot of the run-off area bitumen around this circuit. They're very generous. It's one of the rare occasions where iRacing is generous with track limits. Down the back straight for the first time. The run to the bus stop. Cox holds on. Dench is there. Dench will beat them in strategy tonight. He'll be happy to sit in and follow and save a little bit of fuel in behind the draft and slipstream of Simon Cox. Down they come for the first time. Oscar Glissett right there. Trouble there already at the bus stop. No real surprise. That's Owen Coleman, and that car is going nowhere but the back of the garage.
Yeah, that car is not behaving in the way that a car should, and no surprise to see that he's called for the truck to go back to the pit lane, and that'll be a hefty tow penalty because it's right at the start of the season, right at the start of the circuit. Sorry, and you can see now most of the cars one by one going down that straight. It's tight here, it's hard to overtake, but that's a very visual representation of how kind the track limits are around here, just letting the cars go anywhere they want. And to be fair, that is a hallmark of racing in America. And people say, you know, Americans only know how to turn one way, they only know left corners. Well, I'll tell you what, we've had 2 cracking tracks tonight where they turn both ways.
Exactly right. Main straight, 1 lap done. Let's wait and see where the lap times sit at the moment. 1:48.02. I think we were in the 42s in qualifying. So if we bank on about a 1:45 lap time, taking into consideration there should be 2 transits down pit lane, that should give us an indicator as to where we are going with laps tonight. So 3.5 will give you 2 laps. That's minutes. So every 7 minutes is going to be 4 laps. There are 8 sevens to get you to 56, so that'll be 32, and add another 2, maybe 3 to that. So 34, 35 is about that number at the moment, and that'll firm up at the back end of the race here when we get an indication as to what happens to the lap speed, whether it fluctuates, whether it diminishes, whether tyre wear becomes a factor. We know that that has been a more of a telling part of the narrative in Waste Options GT3 of late, and also what sort of transit times we're looking at along pit lane as well. So all those factors to take into consideration. 34, 35 laps is about where I'm underneath at the moment. And the other point I should point out too, or highlight with that, is that normally when we come to this venue, Banksy, we come here in sprint trim. This is a 60-minute race tonight, so new territory, rare air for these guys as far as this circuit is concerned.
Yeah, it certainly is. It'll be breaking new ground for quite a few of these drivers. Watkins Glen as well. It's a really tricky circuit. It's one that if it is a circuit that you haven't done often, you will struggle if you haven't put in the time to practice. And that'll be some of the lap time difference that we'll see between the people at the top of this program and the people towards the back that perhaps put a little bit less time into their preparation. But it is a track that you can overtake on. It is difficult. It's certainly not easy because there is so much danger around here. It can be done, and like you said at the start, it's one of those tracks where at any point somebody could do something that triggers a cascade of crashes and collisions, could cause something like a safe car or a big split in the field, and particularly later on in the race when the front of the field starts to crash the back, that will be one of the danger points for them because they could get caught up in an incident of somebody else's making.
And already we're seeing Simon Cox and Matty Dench take off. They've put 1.2 seconds between themselves and Oscar Glissett. Richard Mitchum, Wayne Hewitt in close tow at the moment. Of course, when you remember what we told you at the top as far as the championship fight is concerned, that's forceful on the inside from Jordan Malcolm. On Rob Hill. Job done. And now it's opened the door. It's opened the door. Matt Stewart trying to get down on the inside, because up on the outside was Rob Hill trying to keep him at bay. And it's a 5-car freight train down the back straight and Stewart under the pump. Great driving, Jordan Malcolm. That Ford not everybody's cup of tea. Really hard mongrel of a thing to drive at the best of times, but loves horsepower circuits. And Watkins Glen is one of those. Simon Cox at the front of the field, 143.65. Matty Dench only half a second away. They've gapped Oscar Glissett, Richard Mitchum, Wayne Hewitt. Remember that Wayne Hewitt is third in the championship. Richard Mitchum fourth at the moment. So the top four, all in the top five at the moment. Oscar Glissett, the only one not in the top five as far as the championship fight is concerned. He's eighth and needing to make every post a winner here because his nearest opponents are the likes of Glenn Arnott behind him and Matt Stewart ahead of him, and he's well and truly clear of Matt Stewart at the moment.
Watching the replay of what happened to Owen Commons. He gets on the grass under braking, tight braking zone, car on his inside, trying to give it as much space, get as wide as he can to get a better entry into the corner, and just getting it wrong, getting on the grass. That reduction in grip on the left hand side has pitched him to the right, and so he actually brakes a little bit later than the car ahead, gets caught out and has to dive left, try and avoid him, and then puts two wheels on the grass and ends up spinning into the barrier. That's a bit unlucky, just caught out by the car, the braking point of the car ahead. Really easy to do on lap one because it's so hard to judge what that concertina factor is going to mean for you and how far back you're going to have to brake compared to normal. Scott Wood and just getting that wrong, and that is one mighty collision into the wall.
Exactly what we said. Just take a little bit too much curb or a little bit too much grass through that section of the circuit, and you pay the price in a big way. And already to that point, as we have a look down the order, Owen Coleman out of business, Luke Hay out of business. Scott Wooden is down the back end of the tree at the moment, but with a little bit of a walking wounded car. So he will... I think Adam Lavis, I think you're about to make the point, that he will try and lift this thing to that critical number where we can pit and then only have to do one more stop and get home.
That is also the fact that I was more looking at the fact we've got four of the twitchy foots at the back of the field, unusually. So two of them have had a good start, but three of them, sorry. So we've got three of them up on the top 11, but the other four, not a good start for them. So a bit of a heads and tails start for the twitchy foot boys.
Yeah, I just wanted to call out one of those twitchy foot boys in particular, Nick Wood. We saw him have a race to forget in the GT4, coming unstuck on lap one. Stuck with the race until the end, despite having a GT3 championship that he's doing very well in up next. So props to him for committing to the GT4 when he could have ditched out and gotten a bit of extra practice in for GT3 to try and optimise tonight. Evidently didn't need it because he's ahead of his GT4 title rival Sam Muir, who is in 7th, Nick Wood's in 6th, and he's currently in 5th place in the championship, putting together another very solid championship like he is in a GT4. We're now watching Jake Jackson. He's in 17th place currently. He is battling with John Jennings and John Wright ahead of him, and then behind him he's got Shane Benici and Jaden Aitchison. For stumbling on that name a little bit. I wasn't expecting to get later in. But it's Aitchison. And Jake Jackson looking to shape up for the move. Goes down the inside, brakes late. Can he stay there? No, can't carry enough. Oh no, he's got it.
Got it on the exit. Oh, not yet he hasn't. Not yet he hasn't. Dive by side through turn 10. And a little bit of margin, hip in shoulder as well, but Jackson is going to do enough to hold on for now. Tremendous pressure. Tremendous pressure from John Jennings there. Not too far away. Wanting to weigh in on the action. If those two keep duking it out, they'll reel them in. Of course, Shane Benici and Jaden Aitchison as well. To Oscar Glissett. He's got Richard Mitchum and Wayne Hewitt for company. 2.4 seconds now, the buffer between second and third. The margin. Matty Dench still happy to sit in and follow Simon Cox. And they are slowly but surely, gradually easing away from the rest of the competition, as they so often do.
Yeah, it's one of the hallmarks of GT3 is Matty Dench getting away in that lead pack. So glad he's got Simon Cox going with him to make a real battle of it this time round. But like you said, Matty Dench is so good on the strategy. Is he saving fuel behind Simon Cox, or is this the two of them going at their true race pace? We won't know until that round of pit stops occurs. Just here, Samuel starting to be a bit of a cork in the bottle, isn't he? He's got Glenn Arnott right behind him, Nick Wood, Jonathan Hooper, Shane Clancy, Daniel Birchnell. all in this pack. And you've got another pack of three, Malcolm, Hill and Stewart, looking to get involved as well. So Samuel, he's been slowed down there, but a twitchy foot racing car.
Nick Wood running it wide through the bus stop and not open the floodgates. He lost 2-3 spots in all of that. So, Sam, you're up in the 6th spot. And the other comment worth making as well, have a look at the top left-hand corner of your screen, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, just look at the left side of your screen. Look at the amount of orange and yellow numbers there at the moment. They're the battle packs we're trying to keep an eye on. There are so many battles because everyone, given the nature of this circuit, it's one of the great characteristics of Watkins Glen. It's why we love coming racing here. It lends itself to close, tight-knit action, bunched-up pack racing. These guys are so evenly matched on outright lap speed that it's going to take a while to separate them, to spread them out, which is good for us because it means the entertainment value increases.
That's absolutely correct. It's not that we need anything to increase the entertainment value in GT3s on a Monday night because it always delivers. I think the only thing better than GT3s on a Monday night is potentially the GT4s on a Monday night because they have been utterly incredible. We don't get the strategic variation that we get in GT3, two different types of racing across the night, and that's what makes Monday nights absolutely wonderful here at the GSRC. And these Monday nights are provided to you by Waste Options, and I thank them a lot for that because it is so much fun bringing you these races on every single Monday.
And just quickly as well, the guy that we're riding on board with, a number one in our club and has been for a long, long time. It's we need to tip the hat to him and say well done because I came across a headline this afternoon that I thought, hang on, I know that name. And I clicked on the headline just to make sure it was the right person that I was thinking it was. And it says, Dench wins Speed Cafe E-Series Championship race at Imola. So, of course, everyone knows the Speed Cafe are running an E-Series at the moment. Dench has obviously weighed in on that, had a crack in the GT3 at Imola and come up trumps. So we might ask him about that at the end of the night, knowing that he's already had success there in our service at Imola early in the campaign. Contact there, two cars in trouble and one kissing the tyre wall as a result, getting a little bit of a helping hand. Exit stage left.
And that was Wood, wasn't it?
Well,
Wood is down 17th.
it is Nick Wood, yeah. I was going to say, I couldn't quite tell. There was no name on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there, but yes, there's the tap in the defence of the car behind. Nick Wood was already a little bit unsettled at that point. That tap just finished him off.
Yeah, it's one of those things you still don't like to see the tap, but it's understandable how it happens. Really difficult to follow place through there. Look at Matty Dench. He's
right there.
Not going for the overtake though, is he?
No. This is all that gamesmanship, strategic master stroke sort of stuff that we're used to seeing from that M Dench on a Monday night. He'll happily sit there and mind his own business and let someone like Simon Cox do the heavy lifting for him. He'll save a little bit of juice, he'll stretch out the stint, and all of a sudden he'll come out of the first round of pit stops with the 5-second advantage and then carry on with it. We know what he's like. He's done it that many times before that we're not even surprised by it anymore.
That is certainly what he does, but yeah, and just seeing him so close to car ahead really does hammer home. He is definitely deciding not to make a move at this point, and that means he is there to save fuel, just like Cox going to do himself strategically. But what do? You don't give the lead to Matty Dench. You've got to stay in the lead and back yourself to somehow, some way find a way to stay in front throughout the pit sequence and make what seems like the impossible sometimes happen and stay ahead of Matty Dench. But taking those two out of the equation, look at the battle we've got for third place. Richard Mitchum, 0.6 ahead of Oscar Gleiser, who is 0.3 ahead of Wayne Hewitt. Then a 4-second gap to Sam Ewer. He's got Glenn Arnott riding his tail. And then you got the almighty battle pack for the bottom end of the top 10. Shane Clancy leading that. He's just diving to the pits. You then got Jonathan Hooper, Jordan Malcolm, Rob Hill, Matt Stewart, John Wright, and Jake Jackson, all within a second of each other, all looking to get into the top 10. One mistake could be the difference between 8th place and 14th if you're at the back of that battle pack.
And that is defining early in the piece. We've seen it a couple of times already. As soon as those floodgates open, as soon as you end up on the outside and hung out to dry, you quickly drop 1, 2, 3 spots. And then that pressure mounts and it weighs on your mind. We've already seen a couple of people crack under said pressure tonight. We ride with Jonathan Hooper at the moment, following Daniel Birchnell. Jordan Malcolm's in the top 10 at the moment. Rod Hill and Matt Stewart just outside. Then John Wright, Jake Jackson and John Jennings. Nick Wood 16th at this point. Shane Clancy and Scott Wooden came in at the end of laps 8 and 4 respectively. Scott Wooden at the end of lap 4 and Shane Clancy at the end of lap 8. Remembering full well that Clancy, I think having left it that long, should be able to one-stop it from here. It'll just be that he's on what we like to refer to. Bang! Shane Benici with a big hit. That car just did not want to go left. Hard right, fence, done. Benici will come to pit lane this time by.
It's a massive characteristic that first curb into the bus stop, if you cut it completely, it's fine. If you cut it a little bit, it's okay. But if you ride the middle of it, it bottoms out and launches you. So you got to commit to one side of the hump and the curb, and if you hedge your bets, that's what happens.
Yeah, it's absolutely treacherous, and it's really hard when you're trying to figure out how to take that curb, because like you said, you hit that middle point, and all of a sudden it starts pitching. You're like, oh, I can't take the curb that much, and then you get into the race and you watch the real fast guys, and they're cutting it, and you're just going, but I tried to do that and I couldn't do it because it was set me in the wall every single time. Because there's a bit in that curve you just cannot hit because it wasn't out. I just wanted to call out. We said Nick Wood, he's had trouble. Shane Clancy, he's had trouble. They are 5th and 6th in the championship, and they had a bit of a buffer to Stewart, Gleiser, Honor, Birchnell, Ruddell, who really are the start of a major battle pack in the championship. At the moment, they're both going to lose that buffer. So what we're going to see is that battle for 5th and 6th place in the championship is going to be blown wide open if the results stay as they are. Keeping in mind, we've still got 43 minutes of this race to go.
Correct. That's point number one. Point number two is Stewart's not having a crash hot night either compared to Glissett, because Oscar's up there in 4th place at the moment, and of course down there in 12th place is where you find Stewart. That's obviously not on corrected order just yet, because we don't know how everything's going to play out through the 2 rounds of pit stops. So yes, Scott Wooden, 50-50 as to whether he can make it home on one stop from there, given that he stopped on lap 4, maybe with a little bit of fuel saving if he can manage it. Shane Clancy should be okay, but we're seeing already only those drivers that have run into any sort of trouble opting for the alternate strategy. Everybody else happy to run the tank dry, and then we'll see a little bit of gamesmanship and a little bit of extra strategy play open up in that second stint, because you'll have 2 critical lap numbers right there. Bang, there goes Daniel Birchnell.
He's going to run as well.
And he's on a different strategy as well. So he's going, 18 and then probably, 22, 24, and then the balance from there. Jordan Malcolm in 9th place, all over the back of Jonathan Hooper like a cheap suit. So you'll have guys like Cox and Dench that run the tank dry this first stint. They'll go as long as they can. Then that opens up. You'll see that critical lap number come around that 35-minute mark. Everybody can stop there and get home, technically speaking. We should reiterate that. And then, obviously, there'll be those that opt to go as deep into that second stint as possible, which will take them into that final 10 minutes of the race, and then you'll get a couple of guys that, for whatever reason, will stop somewhere between those 2 points. So lots of different ways to skin the cat, so to speak. But one thing's for certain: when we get to that final 10 minutes, everybody should be, technically speaking, good to get to the checkered flag. But other things like tyre wear, fatigue, and pressure will play an ever-increasing role. We're riding on board with Jordan Malcolm at the moment. How good does Henry sound around the Watkins Glen circuit?
I just noticed something, like being on board with the old Ford here. 2 things. You definitely see it definitely needs an iRacing update. I mean, the thing still has a shifter. No paddle shifts in this thing. But the luxury, though, is Jordan's got air conditioning. Got an AC thermostat in the centre console there. So
that's it.
Just loving life.
Doing it in comfort, doing it in style. It's good to see. French trails Simon Cox by 0.2 of a second as they complete lap 11 and start lap 12. So we're edging ever closer to that first round of pit stops. We're on lap 12 through 20 minutes of play, 19 and a half minutes of play. It is Monday Night Motorsport with thanks to Waste Options for the Gentleman Sim Racing Club.
Oh, did she?
One. Whoa, Dench wide. That gives Simon Cox a fraction of breathing space.
He just caught that wrong part of the curb, but he caught it.
Very rare mistake from M. Dench. Liam.
But one of the first people we've seen catch that part of the curb and then manage to save it. Which goes to show, even when he makes a mistake, he manages to display the skill that he's got in that car. I was just thinking, if you're Simon Cox, do you start just playing with your braking zones a little bit when Matty Dench is that close behind? Just make him a little bit nervous, make him try and back off a little bit? I don't know, you got to do something if you want to beat Matty Dench. Just thought I'd throw that out there as something you might want to try if you want to get involved and start a mind games battle with Matty Dench. Although, to be fair, I think any battle with Matty Dench you start, you're gonna be prone to lose because, like you said, he's gone off to other pastures to try and find the best of the best. Gone to the Need Speed Cafe Series, which will have attracted some of the very best iRacers that Australia's got to offer, and he's gone and he's beaten them in that round at Imola. We're now watching on board Samuel. He's already had a good start to the night, playing within a whisker of getting the victory in the GT4. Currently in 6th place. He's one of his main rivals in the championship. Nick Wood is all the way down, as is Shane Clancy, and he's looking to capitalise to try and leap the standings himself. Currently in, I can't even find what's anything, 17th place. He's towards the back of that battle pack that really goes all the way down from Matt Stewart in 7th to Samuel in 17th, and he's looking to climb up that at the end of this race.
He's the second of the people that have pitted. So Birchnell's pitted, Nick Birchnell, Nick Wood, Shane Clancy have all pitted, so they're the leading of the early stoppers.
Yes, they are, and I think other than Birchnell, have they all had incidents? They have, haven't they? Oh no, Birchnell pitted by himself. He pitted for legit reasons. I know Nick Wood had an
Jade
incident.
Nathanson in pit lane at the moment as well, boys. Oh, Jordan Malcolm, hang on, there's some rear wing damage on the Henry. Jordan Malcolm's had some issues. The Henry's looking a little bit worse for wear.
He'll do his best to limp back to the pits and use his fast repair and get back into the race. And hopefully he can do that without losing too much time, but you can see visibly just draining time to cars.
Oh, he got the inside fence.
That's what saved him from a nastier shot of hitting the other fence.
In a not dissimilar situation to Chaz Mostert all those years ago, down through the S's on the run towards the elbow. Caught the wall on the way through.
This is turning too early.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Exactly like Chaz. A smidgen to... No, actually not a smidgen. He's just absolutely smashed that wall.
Makes you wonder
Wow.
if
Pit lane. Simon Cox, Richard Mitchum, Oscar Glissett, and also Wayne Hewitt, Sam Muir, all on pit road. Glenn Arnott and Matthew Dench continuing onto lap 14 of the car race.
Yeah, makes you wonder if he was trying to figure out pit strategy on the way down there, on the way down the straight, and just looked at maybe a bit late, didn't have time to set himself, and just mucked it up going into that corner. It's the kind of thing that's very easy to do in a race where you need to worry about strategy. Of course, a lot of these drivers won't have anybody helping them out. They'll be trying to figure it out in the car if they're planning to react to the cars and they haven't just set a plan and decided they're going to stick with it no matter what before the race. Interesting to note, Matty Dench, of course, going on. Let's look at the lap time for Matty Dench this lap, because this is when he will look to get ahead of Simon Cox.
Clear air. No, that's right, clear air. It'll be interesting to see what he does with it. Let's watch everybody else make their way out of pit lane. Richard Mitchum goes to short fuel. Richard Mitchum goes to short fuel.
He's going for track position.
He opts for track position in the name of paying the invoice at the second pit stop earlier than everybody else. He'll be in at that critical lap at around that 25 minute to go marker. One would think. Everybody else about 10 seconds up the road. 7-8 seconds up the road as far as their pit stop time is concerned.
So Jordan's probably lost some time, but the one benefit is the fact he's been able to pit this straight away and get it done.
14 drivers, no less, on pit road on that lap. Malcolm, under pressure on the outside. Rob Hill, can't find a way by. Malcolm smashes the curves on the way through, much better approach. Dench is in. Matty Dench is on pit road. 11 seconds up the road from Glenn Arnott, and another 10 back to Jake Jackson. Where does he come out in relation to Richard Mitchum and Simon Cox? Mitchum might be on track to take the lead here, of course. Given that, He's gone for that short fuel unless Dench is aware of those tactics and going for the short fuel himself.
Tyres.
Tyres for M. Dench.
So this will be a long stop then. You're going for the full
Yeah, that's
stop?
right. He won't be going for the short fuel, I wouldn't imagine.
Unless
Richard
he might just be doing one side though. He might just be doing the one side tyres.
Yep, 15.1 seconds. So it is shorter, but it's not as short as Richard Mitchum. However, Dench still comes out with track position to the tune of 2.6 seconds. Very nicely done. There's a few different ways to skin a cat in this caper. And these guys are up to their usual old trick once more. Good to see. 34.5 minutes to go.
And the question is Simon Cox aware of what's going on, or is he at the moment thinking, what the hell's happened?
I think about thinking what the hell's happened, because unless he's a very quick thinker, I don't want to do that amount of thinking in the car. You're lucky if you can get a word out of me. But yeah, he'll be absolutely gutted coming out in third. He'll be pretty confused, and not just in like a comfortable third. You know, he was pretty comfortable in second before the pit stops. He's lost the position to Richard Mitchum, and he's got Oscar Gleiser and Wayne and Glenn Arnott right behind him now. Oh, look, that's Oscar Gleiser going the wrong way. He's just span, and he's done well to keep it out of the grass, out of the barrier. But that's going to lose him the position to Glenn Arnott and Wayne Hewitt, and now Sam Muir's going to get past as well. And look at this battle pack. 4 drivers here, so this is Jackson, correct myself there. Jackson, Nick Wood, Matt Stewart, Jordan Malcolm, and Rob Hill that we're looking at right here. Nick Wood a bit further up the road, apologies. So that's Jake Jackson. No. Who's that in the...
Listen again.
It's all going terribly wrong. It's all coming undone for Oscar. On the 15th lap of the car race, things have gone from bad to worse.
What?
2 moments in 1 lap.
That'll be he's overheated tyres in the first spin and they're not compensated on the next corner.
That's a good shout. That's a very good shout. I think he might be absolutely right there. So now really looking back at this battle between Jake Jackson, Matt Stewart, and he's got Rob Hill basically pushing him around the track. And look at that behind him, Jordan Malcolm, who we know has got a lot of pace, just come unstuck a bit earlier in the race, hitting the barriers, turning in too early, managed to limp it back to pit lane, and now he's recovered to still be in 13th, which is a few positions down, but he's got the pace to look to attack the cars ahead. We're now watching Matt Stewart, still got Rob Hill right behind him. Will Rob Hill go for the overtake? God, I think that he's gonna, because look at the gap forming in front of them. Not long ago, Jake Jackson was in this battle pack with them. He's already broken through by 1.2 seconds, which shows that Matt Stewart just doesn't have the pace of the cars ahead. And here's Rob Hill. He's going around the outside. He's going to be on the outside, heading into the chicane. I don't know if that's where you want to be. So he's going to tuck back underneath. But Matt Stewart taking that beautifully. Jake Jackson taking that beautifully even. No, it's Matt Stewart. Taking it beautifully, and Rob Hill not able to make that overspeed they had in the straight count. He's going to find another place to get the overtake done.
And that's the other thing as well. As the field spreads out, those overtaking opportunities become fewer, and therefore you've got to take the opportunities when they're presented to you. Not spend too much time in mucking around and getting them done. Otherwise, you're losing valuable time, tenths, hundredths, thousandths of seconds in the car race. So Rob Hill will want to find a way by here, Matt Stewart, and get out after Jake Jackson. Matty Dench, 1:43.64. Fastest number of the night thus far by 100th of a second on Simon Cox. It took until lap 16, but Matty Dench has finally arrived.
So I've got the pit lap number, and their stop time. So you can see there who's short field and who's going for the full stop there on the tower.
So yeah, there's a fair bit of short fueling going on. Dench, Mitchum, Arnott, and also you'd say Nick Wood has done the same thing. Looking beyond that, Scott Wooden has definitely gone short. He had no choice, fueling on lap 4, and that's about it as far as I can tell. Have I missed anyone, Liam?
No, but one thing I think it's worth pointing out, that is a cracking lap time. But Simon Cox took a full extra 7 seconds to fuel up. He was carrying quite a bit more weight at this point in the race. He's not going to have an invoice to pay later on. Just watching Rob Hill make a mistake there and lose position to Jordan Malcolm, and it looks like Oscar Galeisa, after his travels on that lap out of the pits, has recovered, and he's going to get the position of Rob Hill. Yeah, Simon Cox doing a 144.09, Matty Dent to 143.64. So not a huge difference in lap time, below around half a second, just below. If Simon Cox can find maybe another 10th or 2, he's in this race, I think, still, even with the difference in lap times, just because of that invoice that Matt Dent is going to pay. If he's got to do another 7 seconds of fuel at some point in this race, he, 14 laps for him, if he's making half a second a lap, it's tight. Simon Cox is in this race at the current pace, and that last lap, Matt Dent to the 144 dead. We'll have to wait for about 10 seconds to see what Simon Cox is. So 144.3, so only 3/10 that lap. I think the race for the lead is still on.
Yep. No, I'm hearing you, and I'm agreeing with you. And more trouble, Jordan Malcolm again. More rear wing damage for the GT, for the Ford, and that might just about be curtains. On the tow rope, in the lane, and we are at the 30-minute mark of the race, so even still, even if he was able to get back out there, I can't see him being able to make it from here. We need to have another look at what brought him undone this time round. Scott Wooden also in pit lane again as well. That was scheduled. He stopped on lap 4, he's got to lap 17. He's very much up against it, getting home from here. I dare say he's staring down the barrel of the third stop, and therefore a little bit of an invoice at the back end as well. Jordan Malcolm has parked up. Jordan Malcolm has retired from the race. When we started out with 25, went down to 23. This is how it happened. Oscar Glisson. Uh-oh. I don't like... Oh, jeez. I didn't like how we were setting that one up by going with Blissett. Then we see Jordan Malcolm come unstuck just by running it wide on his own, and then the rear wing thing is damage to that. It was always going to be skating on thin ice through that fast left-hander, because they do not like carrying speed when they're that damaged, those rear wings.
Of course, you're relying on the rear wing to generate the downforce on the back of the car, pushing those rear tyres into the road. That is what provides the grip. So when you don't have that rear wing providing all the grip, you need to compensate, and it's really hard to judge how much to compensate. He probably didn't even know that his rear wing was damaged. I don't know if he'd been able to see that in his rearview mirror, so unless he felt it, he wouldn't have known how much to compensate, and then so the spin, I think, was inevitable after that initial contact and deciding to call it a night, which is a shame to see a car out the race, but yeah, tough night for him. Didn't quite have the pace to go for the podium in the GT4s, and then not having a cleanness of races in GT3, and I'm sure he'll reset and come back next week even stronger. Ren Hewitt, however, is having a good race. He's in 5th place, that's where he qualified, and that's where he currently sits. He's pretty comfortable there, 1.2 seconds ahead of Sam Muir, who is going a little bit faster than him the last couple of laps, but not a huge amount. So you wouldn't imagine he's under a huge amount of danger from Sam Muir, unless he can pull a special manoeuvre out of the bag, and then he's 4.3 seconds behind Glenn Arnott, who is in 4th place.
Let's say, oh, more trouble this time. Jaden Aitchison. Aitchison's come undone. 19th place, and drops out of the battle for 18th with Stephen Gallacher, and he too looks like he's got some rear wing damage. This is how it happened. Too much curb. Gone. Oh. Bang. As soon as you saw it back in, you knew that rear wing was in trouble.
Yeah, those rear wings not designed for contact at all. This battle pack has spread out a lot bit since we last saw it. So this is the battle pack of Jake Jackson leading in the first of the cars, leading Matt Stewart in the second of the purple 19 MX Raps racing cars. Then they got Oscar Gleiser behind him. Oscar Gleiser has shown pace throughout this race, but had a couple of incidents which have dropped him back further down the field. And then Rob Hill behind them has now become detached from that group, so it's really only Stewart and Gleiser who are in a live battle right now. Previously it was about 4 or 5 cars deep.
Oh boy. The pressure's mounting, the intensity rising. On a Monday night, we're on lap 20. Matty Dench, the leader. Aitchison comes to pit road again. Now, is he in a position? Well, he's on the precipice of being okay to fuel up here and get through to the checkered flag. He's on the cusp, teetering on the brink of a little bit of uncertainty. It could go either way, but with a little bit of smart racecraft and a little bit of tactical mindfulness of the situation, saving a little bit of fuel here and there where possible, may just get away with it. May just get away with it.
May just get home.
34, 35 laps is still what I'm banking on tonight, Liam. So it's a long run considering that we're only just starting lap 21 now. Dench was the master of the fuel save in the opening stint. He got to 14 laps. So yeah, it's on the cusp. There's no doubt about that.
It certainly is. It'd be a good chance for him to test his mettle and just go for it and see what happens. Just return to that battle at the front between Dench, Mitchum, and Cox. We point out, Cox on the alternate strategy, 7 seconds more fuel in the car of Cox compared to Dench. And I'll tell you what, Dench has been absolutely relentless with his lap times, consistently in the mid to high 1 minute 43s, and Simon Cox just not with the consistency to live with him and keep that gap small enough. So now he's got by my calculations, about a 12-second lead over Simon Cox, and with only 7 seconds fuel in arrears, that's a 5-second lead to Matty Dench in effect.
Look at that side by side with him and Stewart through the bus stop. You don't do that. They both come out the other side. Oh, exceptional driving from both men. Phenomenal. On the edge.
Crash.
And there's championship implications with regards to that battle as well, as we know. Glissett made a rod for his own back with those 2 mistakes earlier in the piece in this stint. Has ended up back fighting with Stewart for track position when he had him covered well and truly earlier in the piece. The move of the night from Glissett to move himself up to 11th.
Incredible. A slight touch there at the end, but I don't think the steward will have any problem with that.
Considering that both cars remain stable and steady, I don't think they'll have a problem at all. Though it'll be like hard racing, fair racing, play on, boys. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Robbins Racing.
Well, I think both cars consenting to that. Both cars consenting to the contact there, so I don't think we'll see any issues. Look at them going all the way off the road there. One of the characteristics of this track, like you said, they just don't care about check lanes. Oh, Glissett touching the wall there. I tell you what, he's playing with fire, isn't he?
Yeah,
a couple of spins already. It hasn't dented his confidence.
Not at all. Not at all. The best thing he can do here is put what's unfolded already in this stint to one side and just get on with the task at hand. Go at 10-10s. Very mindful of where Stewart is on the racetrack. He's now behind him again, and focus on that positional fight as far as the championship's concerned, because the race and a chance of an outright podium, that's gone. He's lost that opportunity with those 2 mistakes in this stint, and that opportunity lost by Glissett has now been taken by Richard Mitchum, who finds himself in the top 3, and Simon Cox is still there as well after leading all of the opening stint until he pitted up the end of lap 13. We're not too far away from Mitchum and Dench coming to pit road, I wouldn't imagine, because we know that they short-fueled in relation to Cox in that opening stint. Glenn Arnott will also be due, having got to 14 laps, but then only taking on the 13.25 second pit stop compared to Simon Cox's 22.22. Richard Mitchum in, right on cue. Right on cue. Richard Mitchum is on pit road at the end of lap 22, 21 minutes to go. So 3 7s, 3 4s, 12 laps to go by my numbers. So that's going to get us to 34. Forget about 35. We're looking at 34, ladies and gentlemen, because we've still got a pit stop to come. The pace has gone out of this race enough to the point where we can comfortably say that we believe we're going to get to 34 laps tonight, no further. We've still got a pit stop to come. 144 seems to be the standard steady pace at the moment for Matty Dench. Richard Mitchum, Glenn Arnott, Nick Wood, all in that time around. Oh boy. Strap yourself in, folks. The best is yet to come. It's been a good race so far, but the best is yet to come at the Glen.
It was a bold move by Wayne Hewitt to get past Samuel a couple of laps ago. Samuel not going. Who's that? That's Shane Benici. He's found the wall.
Again.
Straight to pit lane. At least it's in the pit window.
Not for him. Uh-oh. Coming through turn 11. Such a fast point of the circuit. No margin for error. A little bit too much curb. See you later. There's only tyre barrier and Armco waiting for you there. Look at this fight. Look at this fight. Whoa! Oh! What happened there? Richard Mitchum. Hang on. That's not right. What the bloody hell's going on there? Did he just cut half a lap? He did. And he's back in pit lane. Disaster for Richard Mitchum. Because that rules him out of contention as well. That will be a stop and hold.
Has he been running off fuel?
Circuit. No, he just pitted. He had just pitted. And he'd come out in traffic with, who was it? Was it
John Jennings.
John Jennings, yeah. And now he'll be sitting there stationary for a little while, I would imagine, because they would have thrown the book at him and saying, look, listen, you're just extracting a little bit too much of the proverbial, cutting half a lap.
Well, I'm just wondering why he did it.
I'm not sure either. That is really uncharacteristic, and that is Richard Mitchum out of business. He won't be recovering from there. He's dropping outside. That's outside the top 14, 15 now. Richard Mitchum has just let a podium finish go begging. And yet another twist in the narrative with 18 minutes to go.
It's not twist like that. I haven't seen that before. We're going to have to try and get the story of what has happened there from Richard Mitchum at some point, if not during this broadcast, then before the next broadcast, because that is...
truthfully, I'm not quite adding up exactly where we were on the racetrack, as Richard Mitchum is still in pit lane, so the problem is a little bit more serious than just the stop and hold, I would suspect. Matty Dench has come to pit lane to complete his second and final stop of the race. Truth be told, just not quite gauging where we were on the circuit. I was fully expecting that car to come steering back into shot, pirouetting off, having bounced off an Armco wall. But then, obviously, Adam Davis picked him up, and he was he was around at the end of the boot.
The live shot, I thought he just lost the rear, but then he continued on. I'm like, how's he gone through the fence? And I was like, oh, he's just taking the short track.
There is no fence. Yeah. Oh dear, and he's now in pit lane, out of business, done for the night. That is really disappointing for Richard Mitchum. A chance gone begging. And we're just talking about the importance of keeping it clean if you're Oscar Glissett, and also, of course, Matt Stewart in their fight for position in this championship. And it already had been a night where Glissett had made a rod for his own back. He was all of a sudden had gone from being in a position where he could really put some nice little bits of buffer between himself and Stewart, and then that went begging. But right now, he will leapfrog Stewart at the end of the night if things stay as they are. Stewart into pit lane and out again in 14.1 seconds.
And don't adjust your tallies. That is Matty Dench in fourth place, having made his second pit stop. I'm not sure we covered that when that happened. But he made his second pit stop, 14.67 seconds. Stationary times with respect. Simon Cox, who took 7 seconds more fuel at the first stop, when he will technically stopped for 7 seconds in the pits, would be my guess. But Matty Dench looking to have the legs on Simon Cox, and I'm sure once the pit stops correct themselves, he will come out back ahead of Simon. Jake Jackson, Oscar Gleiser yet to pit. The first pitter other than Matty Dench, second pitter after Matty Dench, is Samuel down in 12th, so look for him. And the likes of Glenn, Nick Wood and Shane Clancy to hop back up the order once Gleiser, Hill, Wright, Jennings, Ruddle, Eldridge will make their second stop.
breaking news. Well, Jonathan Hooper's come to pit lane to finish his second stop here. Matty Dench is followed. Whoa, hang on. Matty Dench is in pit lane.
Oh.
Now, what's going on here? This is a big developing story. Matty Dench is on pit road, and I'm none the wiser as to why. I was actually more focused on Richard Mitchum having got back out on the track, albeit a lap and a half down on everybody after a stop of 2 minutes and 10 seconds. That's where I was going, and then all of a sudden there's a yellow box lighting up next to Matty Dench's name. What is going on here, please? Matty Dench on pit road and out of race-winning contention. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's got 100 points on everybody anyway, so he leads the championship irrespective of what the bloody hell's going on here. But this, it just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, that you just do not know what's coming next. You just have no idea the twists in the narrative as to what is going to happen next. First Richard Mitchum, now Matty Dench. And out in 31.4 seconds. Matty Dench is on his way. This is ridiculous. Try and pick what's coming next, ladies and gentlemen. I can't. What the hell was that?
Well, he doesn't cross any lines. I can only think it'd be a speed penalty.
Possibly. Simon Cox is in now to complete his second stop. Wayne Hewitt, Jake Jackson, Rob Hill, John Jennings, and Dave Riddell still to do the same.
It was a 30-second stop on hold, I assume, because he's been in the lane for 31
that's
seconds.
Right. That's right.
So he'll obviously did let us know what happened there. I'm assuming whatever it was, be the same thing happened to Richard.
And it's left us with a somewhat bizarre sort of situation here, where Simon Cox is in a race-winning position. Jake Jackson's going to lead this thing, but he's still got to come to the pit lane for his final stop. So too John Jennings, Dave Riddell, and also Dean Eldridge. Everybody else has completed their stops. Mitchum and also Dench have been in 3 times now. John Wright's now in a 3rd time as well.
Because the only thing I can think of is, like, Dench being close to the end of the pit lane, maybe he thought that he wouldn't hit the speed limit before the line, but given that he started second on first, maybe it's caught him out.
Oh, that's,
and he's just gone over the speed limit before the line. Because that's the only thing. Because he didn't cross the exit line, and if it was an entry thing, he would have got the penalty then and there. So it has to be an exit line, surely. So.
Wow.
It'd be a strange mistake to make, though. You know, when you're pretty comfortably in the lead, we think corrected. So to risk it all for the sake of like a couple of tenths, it'd be a strange mistake for someone as experienced as
we know
Dench to make.
We know Dench doesn't let the speed limit, so he wouldn't have had it on.
Well, that's exactly correct. Well picked, Adam Lavis. I'm gonna back you on that one and say that you've probably got a point there. Richard Mitchum's stop and hold was 2 minutes and 10 seconds, which is what happens when you cut half the lap. I mean, unfortunately, it's not like one of those options that you can click no penalties, no nothing. Back in true story. I fondly remember as soon as you turned rules and flags off on Formula 1 2002, that's how far back we're going. We're talking the PlayStation 2, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't barricade the arena section of the new Hockenheim layout, so you could just drive straight through it. They didn't barricade that off. You just drove straight into the stadium section. You saved yourself 10 seconds a lap. You won by a lap. It was great.
It was similar with Silverstone. You could just go straight ahead and turn.
Oh, that's
3.
right. Yeah, exactly. There
was the wall there, but there was a gap in the wall.
That's it.
I think if you're getting 10 seconds a lap,
in pit lane too, by the way, guys.
I think if you're getting 10 seconds a lap by cutting it and you still only win by a lap, you might need to work on your pace, mate.
No. I'm saying that the race length would have only been,
like 3 laps.
So
okay.
Would have only been 20% or something like that. Yeah. Rather than doing the whole Grand Prix.
I was say, how much time
back
you losing?
In the day, that would have been 67 laps, I think. They were the days. But I'm excited because only 3 weeks now we'll have the new Formula 1 game on the shelves, and red flags are back, you bitchy. Simon Cox, Sam Muir, Wayne Hewitt, Glenn Arnott, Jonathan Hooper, Nick Wood, Jake Jackson, Oscar Glissett, Shane Clancy, and Matt Stewart, the top 10. Say Glissett and Stewart have been welcomed into the top 10 at the expense of Dench and Mitchum. Dench now finds himself in 12th. Okay. Mitchum down a lap and a half, or a lap and a quarter, down there in 19th place. And John Wright was also in for 2 minutes and 19 seconds. He's back out, also a lap down in 20th. Owen Coleman rejoins the race in 21st. Shane Benici, Jaden Aitchison, Jordan Malcolm all out. Luke Hay didn't trouble the scorers in the early stages. But to have, 21 still running out of 25 goes to show that Watkins Glen has bitten to a point tonight. It's bitten in ways we probably didn't anticipate. We're 10 minutes from home. We've got Simon Cox leading the race by 10 seconds, and we've got an epic fight for second shaping up here with Sam Muir and Wayne Hewitt going toe-to-toe. Remembering that Hewitt is third in the championship at this point, and even though Cox and Hewitt will take a chunk out of Dench tonight, Dench will still lead this one at the end of round 7 of the campaign with 3 weeks to go. And now, thank you, by the way. That's nice to know because it's coming up on our screen otherwise. But that's okay. 9.5 minutes to play. What point was I making? Yes. Now, mate, might mean that Matty Dench may not wrap this championship up in round 9 as he was on track to do so. So it could all of a sudden be a case of, it might be a foregone conclusion, it might be, almost beyond reach, but it might not mathematically be beyond reach going into the grand final night, which means we won't have a dead rubber, we'll have a live rubber, which is all the more exciting and adds to the appeal for people to turn up and tune in or race, depending upon which side of the fence you sit on a Monday night. Race options Monday night, Motorsport. How good's it been so far?
Oscar Gliss is loving the bus stop. That's another move through there.
He's really making it his own tonight. The commitment and the cleanliness of the previous move as well on Matt Stewart was fantastic. And, it so easily could have come unstuck and sent both of them into the wall earlier in the piece, but no, they kept it clean. So well done to both. They should be commended for that.
Looking at his head on hospitalizer, Nick Wood, we saw him getting unloaded earlier on in the race, finding the wall, was forced into an early pit stop, compromised the strategy, recovered up into 6th place, which is a brilliant effort. I bet I didn't think that was coming after the first stint of the race. And then, yes, we got Simon Cox in the lead, which we expected because we saw him having the battle with Matt Dench, but almost by stealth, we've barely talked about them. Sam Muir in 2nd, Wayne Hewitt in 3rd, Glenn Arnott in 4th, and Jonathan Hooper in 5th. So they've all, just by keeping their noses clean and driving really, really good, solid pace, they're looking down the pitch of the podium.
And Nick will put it on lap 22, so he still might be able to make this home.
By the skin of his teeth. By the skin of his teeth. If he keeps his wits about him and goes about hitting the markers with regards to just saving the required millilitres of fuel to get an extra lap out of the tank, might just get home. We're heading for 7 minutes to go. And so it's 4 laps at the line. It's 4 laps at the line for Simon Cox.
So Denchi's
who all of a sudden was staring down the bridesmaid, the silver medal, and now has had a victory gifted to him as long as he keeps it on track. But Wayne Hewitt is going to make Sam Muir work bloody hard for second.
So Denchi's 8 seconds away from the top 10, so that'll be interesting to see if he makes it at the end of the race.
Right, but he's going to have to find some pace if he's going to do it. 1 minute 44 on the last lap. A second a lap quicker than the cars ahead, but with only, 4 laps to go. That's not going to be enough. So he's going to have to pull out something magical if he's going to do it. But that said, he's been doing 1 minute 43s before, and he did that with a bit more fuel on board. So he can do it when he's at his peak. But he's going to have to work very hard to get past Rob Hill and Matt Stewart to make it into the top 10. Be interested to get his thoughts after the race and find out exactly what happened. I think you're right. It must have been something coming out of the pits. But if it was, and he felt pressure to not give away time, then you can only put that down to Simon Cox managing to stay close enough that he didn't feel comfortable enough to really take it easy.
I wonder if Richard's still out there, so he's still going. So I'm wondering if he thought that because he had one penalty, he wouldn't get another one. He tried to take a shortcut to mitigate. And our racing's going, no sir, you get 2 penalties now.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll ask the question if he joins us for a chat post race. But one thing's for certain, Two of the top four are staring down a drop round tonight in the championship fight, namely Dench and Mitchell. I didn't think we'd be saying that 15 minutes ago, but geez, this race has thrown up the strange, the delightful, and the delirious, hasn't it? It has dished out all sorts of drama and chaos and unexpected carnage of the iRacing penalty variety. They've thrown the spanner in the works. Not on-track driver error.
Well,
Just to a point. Not a driving error in terms of ending up with a crunched car or a penalty through collecting a competitor or whatever the case may be. Either by getting your sums wrong and meeting the wrath of iRacing. They're not meeting the wrath of our officials. They're meeting the wrath of iRacing.
a misjudgment or something's happening.
Well, yeah. A lapse in concentration. Something that you wouldn't normally associate with those two men. 4.5 to go. 3 laps to go.
Oh,
Whoa! Into the lane.
That's going on. And he's on that.
Richard Mitchum's in again.
I thought it was that. They're in the same
Richard
car.
Mitchum is in again. Now the question is, what for this time? Well, actually, to be fair, if he parks up and stays there, if he stays in the box, he gets classified on 75% race distance. That ain't a problem. John Wright will go past him into 19th. Richard will be 20th. If Richard stays there, he'll get the points. But it's a drop round all the same, so it doesn't really matter if he stays there or
Potential
not.
drop round.
But that was a really weird pit entry from him, so they might even penalise him for that, just to put the icing on the turd. Oh boy. 9:35 Eastern Standard Time, wherever you're tuning in on a Monday night on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Jeez, it's been fun. It has been real good fun.
So two out of the 3 1-9 boys are under pressure at the moment. We got Sam's under pressure for second place. We got Jake under pressure for 8th place.
Yeah, there you go. There's Jake on screen now. He's got Shane Clancy behind him. Shane Clancy, another driver, making a recovery after he got caught up with Nick Wood earlier in the race.
I think Shane must have made an error through the bus stop because he was a lot closer when I was making that statement. He's already clawing it back now, so I think he made a little boo-boo through the bus stop there.
Shane, actually the earliest pitter as well, so he pitted on lap 21, so it'd be impressive if he gets to the end without a splash and dash in the last lap. And if he can do it and take the position of Shane Clancy, that'd be... take the position of Jake Jackson, that'd be even better for him, wouldn't it? But it's going to be difficult going because Jake Jackson's driven a good race. He's been in battle packs, I think, most of the race, and we haven't seen him getting overtaken that much. So it's evidently quite a hard car to overtake in the Porsche.
That's
Sam Muir staring down the barrel of 2 second-place finishes tonight, isn't he? He was second in the GT4 race as well. Can he withstand the pressure of Wayne Stewart here and grab himself 2 silver medals on a Monday night?
Ultimate bridesmaid of the night.
Exactly. Yep. Not the Cinderella story, but close enough to it. Oh boy, 2 minutes to go. A lap and a half. Next time by the line, Simon Cox sees the white flag. Jake Jackson in 9th place, all over the back of Shane Clancy, and under a little bit of pressure from Matt Stewart behind him as well. A 3-way flag for 8th in the closing stages here. Monday Night Motorsport delivering at the back end, as it so often does. Down the inside went Shane Clancy to get 8th in the first place. Glissett's recovered to 7th. A case of what might have been, but a nice recovery, a nice salvage mission, if ever there was one, including some heroic and maybe insane overtaking manoeuvres. Let's have a look at Muir. Simon Cox is coming to the white flag. He'll come onto the main straight, take the white flag, and we'll be on the run home to 34 laps of exhilarating, flat-out speed pace racing at the Glen in upstate New York. Let's come here every Monday night. This has been terrific. In fact, let's bring GT4 here as well. Down the main straight for the last time. Can Muir withstand the pressure from Hewitt? Hewitt doing a nice enough job as far as the championship's concerned.
GT4 haven't had a good relationship with you. There's always been a big crash coming up here through in the start lap.
Well, that's the only thing we haven't really had tonight, isn't it? We haven't had a big one per se. We've had a lot of little ones. a little storm and teacup moments, but we haven't had a big one, a big shunt. We've had a few of them in recent weeks. Fastest lap of the race for M. Dench. It's a losing effort through a fault that we're not 100% aware of as yet of the reason why he's fallen foul of the rule book. Matty Dench punches out the fastest number of the race on the second last lap, 1:43.60. Very nicely done. Jake Jackson still trying to hold off Matt Stewart. Rob Hill's 2.8 seconds up the road, struggling to contain Dench at the moment, so Dench might be able to get 11th here. Simon Cox is a quarter of a lap from home. We're just being told that it's 3:30 a.m. in Alaska, where one of our listeners or viewers is tuning in this morning. That is serious commitment on the long weekend, public holiday over there on Memorial Day weekend. Now look at this. Matty Dench does find a way by Rob Hill into 11th. Simon Cox, pole position to race victory, and an unlikely one at that. But you've got to take the lucky breaks when they're presented to you. Simon Cox gets the job done in upstate New York on a Monday night. How about that? More to the point, after 7:30 server time and still daylight, so stick that up yourselves, Queensland. Have a look at that. Very nicely done. In fact, with McGowan gone, Palaszczuk hopefully next. But that's another story for another day. Cox, Muir, Hewitt, then Arnott and Hooper, the top 5.
What a recovery from Nick Wood, though. And Oscar as well. They both had a bit of incidents early on. They've managed to salvage a 6th.
Dirty Monster is Benici. Now, that might actually... I need to clarify that. Why on earth do we have the wrong spelling on his...
Because it was a typo. It was a typo originally, and then when I imported into SDK, it did the typo. So I fixed the typo in iRacing, but I hadn't fixed an SDK. Now I have.
Okay, thank you. So therefore, I won't be getting caught out in the next couple of excellent stuff. Thank you to both Adam Lavis and Sean as well. So we took our time in working that one out, but at least we were there in the event than never. Thanks for letting us know, mate, and appreciate you being on board over there in
Alaska,
the United States of America. Now, Simon Cox, Sam Muir, Wayne Hewitt, Glenn Arnott, Jonathan Hooper, Nick Wood, Oscar Glissett, Shane Clancy, Jake Jackson and Matt Stewart, the top 10. Oscar Glissett had a 2-point deficit to overcome on Matt Stewart in the championship fight. He's done that. Matty Dench 11th, Rob Hill, John Jennings, Dave Riddell, Dean Eldridge, then Birchnell, Gallacher, Wooden, then Wright and Mitchum, and Coleman the finishes there. 21 laps, they all got home. That's the main thing. That fourth stop for Richard Mitchum was only 5.5 seconds, so I'm not really sure what the bloody hell was going on there, to be honest. Then Benici, Aitchison, Malcolm and Hay. The unlucky ones tonight, unable to get to the checker flag. But Benici bit the dust, didn't he? I mean, that was a big hit that ruled him out of contention. Aitchison had a good run early, but it fell apart. And then Jordan Malcolm's rear wing just wasn't his friend tonight. And Luke Hay, well, he never really got going. Only 2 laps in the books there for him. Great racing as per usual on a Monday night at the Glen. Boys, let me catch my breath. Give me some thoughts.
Well, it was a fascinating race at the front to start off with, wasn't it? Because we had Simon Cox holding up Matty Dench as best as he could. We thought Matty Dench might be saving fuel. He was to a degree, but what he did do is he short fueled and he got himself ahead of Simon Cox, got himself ahead of the other car, Richard Mitchum, that also short fueled to get himself clean air. Only came out 2 seconds ahead of Richard Mitchum, but then just pulled away, putting in some fantastic laps to put himself in the box seat for the win. Then pits for a second time, comes out in the lead. We think that's it, game over. All of a sudden, next lap, he's in for a 3rd stop, which completely threw us all. After we've seen some bizarreness with Richard Mitchum as well. So 2 of the leading cars just taking themselves out of contention, leaving the door open for Simon Cox, who, to be fair to him, drove a superb race, was pretty close to the pace of Matty Dench all race, and comes away with a well-deserved victory because at the end of the day, Simon Cox didn't make any mistakes, drove flawlessly, got a 7-second victory. Samuel also drove perfectly, gets himself into 2nd place just ahead of Wayne Hewitt. Missed opportunity for Nick Wood and Oscar Glissett Nick Wood, less his own making, came unstuck at the bus stop and got helped around early on the race, put in a fantastic recovery to finish in P6.
Yeah.
And Oscar Gleiser is another driver we saw facing the wrong way a couple of times and still managed to bring it home 7th. So you just wonder for Nick Wood and Gleiser what might have been had they had the kind of clean race that Muir and Hewitt had ahead.
It's interesting, isn't it? And Dave Dench has just nailed the point. It didn't quite go to plan for the number one. That is for sure. So if you look at that results sheet, and you're only just joining us, you don't get the full picture of what exactly unfolded and how chaotic that hour was and how action-packed it was. Hopefully we'll be able to walk through and pick it apart with the likes of Richard Mitchum and Matty Dench very shortly, although I don't think Richard Mitchum would be all that willing to come and have a chat about that tonight. I hope I'm wrong, but usually our drivers are always happy to come and have a chat when it goes to plan, and not always happy to come and have a chat to us when it goes up the creek without the paddle, so to speak. Simon Cox, Sam Muir, Wayne Hewitt, Glenn Arnott. That is a great result for Glenn Arnott and Jonathan Hooper, the top 5. A couple of these guys will no doubt be pinching themselves with their results, but it's the reward for good strategy, keeping your nose clean, and strategy did play a big part tonight because we didn't have a safety car, and that's been a trait of GT3 racing so far this season, that all our races are running green from flag to flag. We're not seeing the safety car intervene, which is a testament to the skill set of these guys and the way in which they have been keeping it clean for the most part. Just while we've got a moment here too, Banksy, should point out to everybody at home, especially those of you like Sean Benici in Alaska, big Monday of sport, and a big Monday night into Tuesday morning of sport still to come here in Australia. French Open Day 2 underway. Of course, you can catch that on 9 Gem and Stand Sport. The Indian Premier League final, and I think I'm right in saying this, has been running since 2008. This is edition, therefore, number 16. The first time that the final's been bumped into the reserve day. It got washed out last night on its originally scheduled slot of Sunday night, Monday morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's ready to fire once more at the stroke of midnight tonight. You'll see it on Fox Cricket. Then, of course, at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, also washed out on Sunday, Monday morning our time, and therefore running on the Memorial Day public holiday, a Coca-Cola 600 in the NASCAR Cup Series. They've had some horrendous weather there at the Charlotte Motor Speedway over the course of the weekend. The Busch Series race is also due to fire at 2 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 12 Eastern in America, because of the rain, and they're just hoping that they can get both races in. If not, they're staring down the barrel of some overtime on Tuesday, and then a tight turnaround for next week's racing as well. I'm utterly dumbfounded by some of that, Liam, because that is so unlike Richard Mitchum and so unlike Matty Dench as well. We've got the race winner Simon Cox standing by, defining championship moments potentially, not so much in Dench's case, but certainly in Richard Mitchum's. He needed to try and hang on there to the likes of Wayne Hewitt and Simon Cox in the race for the minor placings in the championship, and that won't help.
No, it won't help, and the amount of opportunities where all 3 podium positions are going to be up for grabs are minimal in this series, just because such is the form of Matty Dench. If he doesn't win, he comes second. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't come off the finish off the podium very often. So when he knows exactly what you mean. He does know exactly what you mean, and he's just joined us in the commentary box. So we'll move over to him once we've had a chat with our winner Simon Cox. But you don't get many opportunities for a podium, so when they're there, you've got to take them. And Richard Mitchum not able to take advantage today.
I'm not going to lie, guys. I've got an early start. I'm jumping out of bed at about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, heading into the airport and meeting a friend at the terminal. So for the first time ever, I'm actually going to go and voluntarily pay for airport parking just so I can meet the friend in the terminal rather than having to wait until half an hour after they land to meet them in the car park at the old stop and drop and go. So we'll keep this tight as best we can tonight. Coming to you in a moment, Matty Dench. Let's go to Simon Cox. you've got to take those opportunities when they're presented to you, mate. And Matty Dench doesn't present them to you very often. You must be delighted with the fact that you've been able to win. You've been able to therefore extend that small advantage that you have over the likes of Richard Mitchum and also Wayne Hewitt for second in the championship. And you've managed to peg back the deficit to Denchi just a little bit as well.
Yeah, all the planets seem to align today, and I'm not quite sure what happened to Denchi and Mitchum.
Neither are we just yet, but we're getting to it.
But yeah, no, it was a really good race. Like, Denchi was just fuel saving behind me, so I knew he was going to jump me in the pit stop. I took tyres. I don't know if anybody else took tyres, but I was a bit worried about that front left later in the race. But yeah, had a good qualifying lap and a sort of a quiet race, but just sort of went on my business, and I didn't realise that that Mitchum actually short filled. So
yes,
that was
that's
a
right.
Bit of a funny one. I was trying to catch him, but the gap wasn't coming down, which I thought it would. But yeah, he must have just short filled and had a longer pit stop in the second one.
Both Richard and Denchi went somewhat shorter on that first stop, and then unfortunately on the second round of stops, it all fell apart in a big way. So that, yeah, it's interesting that you immediately, Owen Coleman munged myself on the first lap. Oh no. Never like seeing it happen on the first lap, especially in a 1 hour race. It makes a rod for the rest of the night, doesn't it? But in saying all of that, Simon, you mentioned it there, and it's interesting that you guys are now aware of this tactic of Matty Dench's. You know the pace that he brings to the table. You know the way he operates now as well. So you're nowhere near. It's not even remotely surprising anymore, I should say, to see him sitting up your Clarko and just letting you do the heavy lifting in the opening stint. And he did that tonight and executed that plan to a T. And you let him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you do? You know, like, someone's got a lead, and I could hear him backing off way earlier than what I was. So I knew I was a sitting duck, but you know, I just sort of try my best and keep chipping away at it, and hopefully it will start to come to me.
Although that being said, he was able to push you along, and all of a sudden that took the pressure off you in regards to any other fights that you might have, provided that you kept your nose clean, which you did, obviously, later in the race, because you built a very handsome buffer over the next pack of cars before you even came into the pit stop first time around.
Yeah, and that's basically what I was looking at. I wasn't really looking at Denchi. I was sort of more looking at third and fourth of what's, you know, if I could build a little bit of a buffer there. And that's sort of basically how I was racing it. It's just so easy to make a mistake in the bus stop, and you know, a few little corners which are a little bit sketchy on the brakes, especially that third last corner, which gets a bit light on the rear. But yeah, the bus stop, it's funny. You got to cut the ripple. If you don't cut the ripple, then the car gets really airborne and gets all squirrely. And I think I saw Denchi actually get a little bit squirrely in that first sort of stint.
Should also point out as well, Simon, sorry, Matt, I thought you were finished the point, so I'm just going to jump in here and make another one and get you to elaborate on this. 3 second place finishes thus far. You didn't race week one, a third place finish as well somewhere along the line, but finally you found yourself a race win.
Oh yeah, it's been a while coming. But yeah, no, I'm really, really happy with it tonight. You know, couldn't ask for anything better, you know, to get a pole and a win. That was great.
No, exactly right, mate. And went out there with a plan, executed it to a T, and it's a great track for the Mercedes, isn't it? Because it's one that flows nicely. Yep, sure, there were a couple of tighter corners during the boot section of the course, but it's horsepower heavy. It's wide. It's fast. It's flowing. It's fraught with danger, as a few competitors found out the tough way tonight. But if you can get it right, geez, it's rewarding.
Oh, it is. It's, yeah, like, as I said last week, I really like this track. It really flows nicely. Looking at the officials, it seemed to be a lot of, you know, sort of different cars. We're getting some good results. So I think the parity was quite good across the field this week, which, you know, makes for really good racing.
Very nicely done, Simon Cox. Stay with me, mate. I want some thoughts from you with regards to the next couple of weeks in just a moment. And nice to be able to check in with you pros, Split boys, and watch a full-length race again. Of course, we only broadcast half the round last week from Hockenheim, having done the first half with the Am Split boys. And I believe we've got weeks 9 and 10 with you guys. I'm just not sure about next week. Adam Lavis will elaborate on that for me in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's bring in Matthew Dench. Denchy, nice recovery. You got the fastest lap of the race. Not surprised by that. You passed Rob Hill on the last lap. You got 11th, but it's about 10 positions south of what we were anticipating. So where did it come unstuck, please?
Come unstuck at the second pit stop there when I was leaving the pit box, mate. I forgot to put the pit limiter on, and I was doing about 73 at the line. So
well picked, Adam Lavis.
We copped the 15-second penalty for that, so then I was a little bit angry with myself. And we come back in on that very next lap, speeding in the pit lane.
No, so you paid the price twice.
30 seconds.
Oh, no. Mate, until then, everything had been going nicely. Adam Lavis actually made the point. He said that you'd made the point previously, and Adam's memory's impeccable, that you don't normally like to rely on the pit limiter. Unfortunately, that's what's brought you undone tonight, which is a cruel twist of irony and all that. But it also would have been somewhat off-putting that if you're one pit box further up the train, as you normally are, had you got that pole position, you might not have also got the speeding fine. So, and therefore the invoice. So therefore, it's a cruel beast, this game, and it can so easily trip even the best of you up.
Yeah, that's right. Like a lot of the tracks, if you're in that first pit box, you can just leave with no pit limiter on at all, and you just sort of get used to doing that. And you just sort of old habits sort of die hard, really.
100% they do, mate. I'm with you every step of the way. That being said, let's focus on the first stint of that race. You went out there with a plan. You executed it beautifully. You came in. You topped up. You short fueled with an eye of getting some clear real estate and some clear air. And it was clear from what Simon said there that he knew what you were up to, your usual gamesmanship, as I like to call it, of just letting him do the heavy lifting while you save a little bit of juice and get an extra lap out of the stint and therefore walk away with track position. It was running faultlessly until that little trip up.
Yeah, so Simon's pace was pretty good. He was going fast enough to drive away from the rest of the field there, so he just sat in behind and. It was all going nice and cruisy, and
I sense from what you're saying there as well, Matty, that had Simon not been trucking along at the pace that you wanted to go, you would have happily found your way by and carried on with it at your own tempo. But because the pace was enough to put that buffer between yourself and the rest of the pack, you were happy to sit there.
Yeah, so it sort of depends on the car behind. Like if we've got like a train of 4 or 5 cars and they want to be racing, want to try to overtake me, then I'll just go for the lead and try and do it that way.
All right, very nicely done. So yeah, obviously two speeding fines, unfortunately. So already now we're looking at the next 3 races, particularly with you, mate. Actually, before I get to that, one other point we need to make. Obviously, the Lambo's running beautifully this season. You went the short fuel in the first stop, but we also saw the jacks go up. So let's talk about tyre wear. Let's talk about why you went for rubber and what did you go for?
The tyre wear was okay. It's just because it's such all the high-speed, long radius corners, you get a lot of extra heat into the tyres. So that first stop we went for left side tyres, and then the second stop we went for right side tyres.
Does that upset the balance of the car, the fact that you've got 2 freshies on with 2 slightly worn or slightly hotter tyres, Denchy, and then vice versa when you come into the second stop? Same?
Yeah, just on the outlap, you've got to be a little bit careful. Don't push too aggressive into the corners under the brakes, and you should be all right.
Simon, what about you and tyres tonight? What was your strategy? What was your wear like?
The wear was okay, but like as Denchy said, it's just really heats up that front left. So I was actually trying to work on a bit of a setup to try and take away a bit of heat from that front left, but it just overheats. So I was going to take just left sides, but I took 4 at the first stint.
Very nicely done. And I guess that was also something you were able to do, mate, by virtue of the fact that you were going for the full fuel at that pit stop as opposed to Denchi, who was going the short fuel. So you had to be mindful of what your fuel strat was before you knew which way you could go with, whether it was 2 tyres or 4 tyres you could take. And you obviously had the time to sit there and take all 4 without paying an invoice.
You pay a little invoice. It's about 2.5, 3 seconds.
Okay.
Take 4. But I had to take the 4 on that pit stop. I couldn't take it on the second one because the fuel's even less. So you either you take them at the first or take them none at all.
A little bit of calculations there for you. If you take 29 litres, you can do two tyres, and you do that both stops.
Okay. Yeah, righto. All right. So memo to everybody that races M-Dench on a GSRC Monday night GT3. He's just given you a little bit of a leg up into why he is the benchmark of the club. He's just given you a little bit of an insight, a little bit of a tip. Take that tip and do it as you please, because he doesn't give much away. In saying all that, Denchi, before we dwell on anything else with regards to GSRC and also what's coming up next week, because we've got obviously a lot of racing still to look forward to, and the championship's still very much alive and well now that you've probably burned both your drop rounds. And I want to come back to that point. We need to say congratulations to you, mate, because Speed Cafe published an article today saying that you've had a win in the E-Series at a circuit that you actually fared pretty well at when we went there only a few weeks ago at the Imola circuit in Italy. So let's just dissect that for a moment, because obviously it's always nice to see one of our own doing good things on other stages, on other platforms, and obviously Speed Cafe's got a huge following. And not that I've seen much of their E-Series, but I can only assume that they've got a good viewership there as well. But let's talk about that, because obviously GT3 racing's your craft, your skill set. We know how well you dominate it here. Is it a step up in terms of difficulty and intensity when you go up and against guys that are there because, well, A, they're the best of the best, and B, it's on a big forum like Speed Cafe. It's got real world motorsport people. It's got sim world motorsport people backing it. Talk us through it, because obviously you're familiar with the Imola circuit. That's not the problem. The interesting side of this is more the upping of the stakes, so to speak.
Yeah, so the stakes over there is a little bit higher than here. They've got money up for grabs every round. So yeah, we're racing for $200 for first place, and it's taken me 5 rounds to finally get that one. But we've got 3 second places and a 4th and a 1st now, so we're leading the championship.
So in other words, the usual consistency, Denji.
Yeah, it was going pretty consistent. Round 4 at Phillip Island, got caught up with the back marker and had a spin, so I think we threw away a win there. But yeah, it was going to be a P2 or a win there. It was shaping up for a really good race.
All right, very nicely done. And I know, obviously, if you want to find out how to tune in and follow the action, you just go to Speed Cafe's socials, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to do their publicity for them. But when's the next round, Denchi?
It's every 2 weeks on a Friday, so we get this Friday off, and then the Friday after that. And for anyone wondering, Ferrari's still pretty good.
All right. Oh, very nicely done. In saying all of that, though, does that upset your rhythm that it's 1 week on, 1 week off, or does that help you?
Kind of helps me, because I don't really like to drive all that much these days. So yeah, we just sort of turn up and drive. But yeah, with money being on the line, I think I've got to start putting in a bit more effort and get a few extra laps in the 2 weeks. Just
upping the game a little bit, and doing so with immaculate ease by the sounds of it. Just turns up, goes through the motions. Doesn't like driving, but I mean the driving itself would suggest otherwise. That being said, let's talk about the fact that now this is probably, when you look at obviously the second race at Zandvoort, then this race here, there's probably the 2 M-Dench drop round chewed up, gone, buried, done and dusted. Let's have a look at what's coming up as far as the final 3 weeks are concerned. Adam Lavis should have the calendar there. Nürburgring next week, final sprint round of the campaign. Mount Panorama, we know that you have a checkered history with the best 6.213 kilometres of motor racing bitumen anywhere in the world. And then the Red Bull Ring, we know how you operate rather well around there as well. you don't now have, you do have the luxury of a championship lead. The buffer's not going to be as big as it was. It was out beyond 100 points coming into tonight. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like once everything balances out and the drop rounds are added to the equation. But how important now, particularly sprint racing, because we know that tripped up a couple of weeks back, and then Mount Panorama, how important are those two to you to still having this championship wrapped up as we anticipated you would with one round to go in the campaign?
Yeah, look, I think all 3 rounds are going to be pretty critical, if I'm going to be honest. Next week, being sprint rounds, we'll just sort of go all out in race 1, try to snag that win, and then race 2, we're just going to have to be nice and careful, keep out of trouble, and just try to pick off a couple of positions and try and get top 5, top 3, and just secure some points. And then Bathurst is one of those ones where you need to push the car hard to go fast, but if you push it too much, you can end your race really quickly. And then the last round, Enduro, there's a ton of points up for grabs there, so you definitely need a good result there.
100%. Hey, Simon, let's bring you back into the conversation here. You've already chewed up a drop round with the DNR as well, and it was a sprint round at that. That's important to note. So you've only really got one to play with going into the final 3 rounds. What are you making of it?
It's basically what Denchi was saying. Bathurst is always sort of fraught with danger and very easy to wreck your car there, so that will be the scary one. If we get through that with a clean slate, then it sort of gloves off, I guess.
At this point in time, I'm going to get some more comments from you two in just a moment, and if William's got anything to add into it, we'll get his comments too. If the championship points for the pro split are ready, Adam Lavis, let's chuck them up on the screen and have a look at this. Please, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what the tail of the tape is going to look like at the end of 7 weeks of competition. And despite 2 trip-ups along the way here, Matty Dench is still looking the goods. He's still got a buffer. Simon Cox now has a buffer as well. There we go. 50 points the advantage. Dench over Cox. And then beyond that, here we go. Now, just having a look. Adam Lavis, I might bring you in at this point in time. Just to clarify what we're seeing on screen here.
Shane Clancy got a 10-second penalty. He was 8th. He's dropped back to 12th.
Copy that. Because we... Okay, so just a quick memo for those of you tuning in at home. We're getting that information fresh just like you are. We weren't getting... we weren't being advised of in-race penalties being dished out, which is immediately why I looked at Denchi's... Hang on. He was 11th across the line. He's showing his 10th on the results sheet here. I knew there'd be a reason for it, and it is because Shane Clancy has dropped out of the top 10. So Clancy drops out. Jackson, Stewart, Dench, and Hill all move up. Is the fallout from all of that. So 359 for Dench, 309 for Cox. And have a look at this. The fight for third. Who'd have thought that Wayne Hewitt would finish the race in third and still drop back to fourth in the points race? Richard Mitchum, despite an absolute shocker in every sense of the word, because it's very much similar to Matty Dench. Second pit stop, it went terribly south at a rapid rate of knots. He still leaves here third. Sure, he's 45 points behind Simon Cox, but he's 1 point up on Wayne Hewitt. Extraordinary. Shane Clancy on 218, 9 points clear of Nick Wood, 2 points clear of Oscar Glissett, who now has put some good breathing space between himself and the rest of the top 10. Glenard at 186 with a great result tonight. 4 points clear of Matt Stewart and another 6 back to Sam Muir. So all of a sudden, we've lost a Ferrari in the top 10 there. Daniel Birchnell is clinging on for and against, or on percentages, or on backtrack of results, etc. Sam Muir has bumped Daniel Birchnell from the 10. Technically speaking, they are showing as equal 10th. But obviously then Rob Hill slots into 12th on 172 points. And then Jonathan Hooper on 168. So as far as the 10 is concerned, even with Birchnell in there, you've got 3 Lambos, you've got 4 Bimmers, 2 Mercs and a Porsche. A Ferrari just clinging on there in technically 11th, but 10th 11th on countback, but 10th on the board at the moment. The countback equation comes into play when we get to the grand finale. So a couple of talking points here. One, Oscar Glissett has really accelerated clear of Matt Stewart. That's now 25 points between those two. Glenn Arnott has wedged himself in between. There is an incredible race going on for positions 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Only 14 points covering those 5. Oscar Glissett now, having been 2 points behind Matt Stewart coming into the round, is now only 2 points behind Nick Wood, who was only 9 points behind Shane Clancy. And, of course, then that 1 point gap between Mitchum and Hewitt. So don't worry too much about Denchi and Cox, because I think those two guys, as long as they keep hitting their markers in the way that we normally have come to expect them doing so, they should be okay. It's the rest of it that is tantalising Liam Banks. There's a lot to pick apart in that leaderboard.
There is a lot to pick apart of that leaderboard. I think pretty much every position is still very much live, and often live with more than 2 drivers that can achieve that position. You've got a pretty well defined battle for third between Mitchum and Hewitt, which is going to be one of the highlights, I think, for the rest of the season, given there's only a point between them. But you don't rule out the likes of Clancy, Wood, Glesser getting back in there, because with 3 rounds to go and most drivers not being able to afford another drop round, it keeps it even tighter than the numbers would suggest. And go on. And I was gonna say, and then obviously, of course, we've got the battle at the front. Dench, obviously, in the driver's seat with all his victories, but without that buffer of having another drop round, as you mentioned, the danger has just massively increased after tonight.
And it's even more so for Richard, because although tonight the drop rounds have helped him to get in front of Wayne, tonight is his only drop round. So he's got a 13 and a 0.
Right, that's right.
So if he has another bad round, 13 is his backup, whereas the other guys have like 30, 40, 50 points as a backup system.
Oh boy. So every post needs to be made a winner by the likes of Richard Mitchum from this point forward. Simon Cox, you've got a little bit of breathing space there. Back to Richard Mitchum now. But at the same time, you're a heck of a lot closer to Matty Dench than you were at the start of the night. Is it beyond comprehension that you might be able to spring a surprise here and upset one of the great winning streaks of GSRC competition and deny Dench of his half dozen?
Well, I'd love to. I think I've got my eyes in the revision mirror rather than forward, but you never know what happens, and anything can happen, just like tonight. Dench just made a small little mistake in the pits of all things, and it cost him points. So we'll be there and we'll try our best, and we're all racers, so we all want to do well and have the best result possible. So we'll see how we go.
All right, very nicely done. Matty Dench, I mean, you've still got that buffer, you've still got breathing space, but it's half as much as what it was at the start of the night. So everything you just said a moment ago about the next 3 weeks, it's starting to sound as though you're on point, you're aware of the situation, but it's intensified a little bit. The pressure's increased a little bit. You've gone from a situation where you had next to no pressure on you at all, and now one more slip up and, oh, geez, here comes Simon Cox.
Yeah, that's right. I think we've just got to ease it up a little bit on our pit stops and stop trying to chase those little tents everywhere, and we'll be all right.
Exactly right. Hey, Liam, jump in here. Anything you want to ask these two while we've still got them?
Yeah, I've got a bit of an out there question. Obviously, it's getting towards next season. Is there a single track that wasn't in this season that you'd really like to see in next season?
I really like Phillip Island, actually, and it's a track that really doesn't get used that much, and it's one of the great tracks on the platform,
You'll have to come and play in GT4 with us if you want to have a run at Phillip Island, I think. Are we at Phillip Island or is it Winton, my apologies? No, sorry. Not Phillip Island. We're at Oran Park and Sandown, my apologies. I got ahead of myself there. But I was going to say, I do agree with you, Simon. That's a good point. Phillip Island, heavily underused and underrated. Are we there at all this season? That's actually a good point. Let me have a look at my calendar, because I've got Thursday night and Monday night on my calendar here. Yes, Coxie.
Yeah.
Thursday night next week, not this week, next week. It's the Mustang R500, but it is Phillip Island. So you still get a chance to run around Phillip Island, just not in a car that you're familiar with.
I have actually driven that once in another series. They're a handful to drive, but they're good fun to drive. You know, they're really lively on the rear. So I might actually give that a crack.
I'm gonna, before Matty Dench jumps in, and he might be able to pick a circuit as well, but I want another answer from him too. I'm going to ask you blokes now. We're 5 weeks out from the start of the new campaign. Well, actually 6 technically, because we start the 1 week countdown to round 8. So round 8, round 9, round 10, 2 weeks off, and then back into it on July 10 or 11 or whatever it is. It's the 10th this year, the Monday night. What are your thoughts on car selection for next season? Because we know it's always a talking point, especially at this point of the season where we're awaiting the next BOP update from iRacing. Simon, you first.
I think it would be pretty close, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Evo GT3 car.
Ooh. Righto.
I think there's 2 manufacturers that haven't had an update for a little while, so it wouldn't surprise me.
All right. I like the sound of that. That would get bums on seats. And a new player would, I mean, we've now got 8 manufacturers. One that gets next to bugger all attention in the Ford, but there are 2 gentlemen persevering with it this season. That being said, a 9th manufacturer would be, very interesting. Come back to that. Denchi, your thoughts on both Liam's question and mine?
For tracks, I think it'll have to go. We'll have to go with Brands Hatch. If we can get Brands Hatch in every season, I'd be a very, very happy person.
You'd probably also get Trent back more often too.
Exactly. That's actually a left field, because there aren't too many people, Lavis and Dench aside, that would say Brands Hatch, because it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's an interesting little circuit. I like it. I of all the circuits I was expecting you to say, Denchi, that certainly wasn't it. So we'll wait and see what the new calendar dishes up. What about cars?
I would really like to go back to the Porsche, but I think we're going to try and stick it out and keep going for a different car every season from here on out. So,
all right. The Fords are only a stone's throw away then, obviously.
Yeah, I'm hoping they bring out a new car and scrap that Ford before I get to it. So the Ford will probably be last.
That's it.
Yeah, so we'll probably be looking at the Ferrari, I think, for next season.
All right, very nicely done. Hey, gentlemen, we appreciate you two coming in and not only doing the heavy lifting at the top end of the race here, but also doing the heavy lifting in the post-race show, because none of your other co-drivers or constituents or acquaintances or teammates or fellow cohort drivers came in to have a chat post-race. So we do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think we'll leave it at this point in time, because it is 10:15 Eastern, and at one point the question will be asked if the post-race show is going to go longer than the race itself, but that's okay. Wayne Hewitt happily chiming in. I'm going to assume that's you, Wayne. I've got a voice suited to Ema. My parents have been constantly asking for mine to be my voice box to be fitted with a volume control knob, but that's another story for another day. But we appreciate any feedback that you want to throw to us via SMS, text, or whatever, via that comment thread, mate. Please, we'll happily relay it on air. We do have a late edition to the post-race show, so we'll get to Ben Woods in just a moment. Matty Dench, Simon Cox, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see everyone on Thursday.
Absolutely.
Thursday, I'll just add for Hewitt's sake, my ex-wife said my voice was the worst horrible combination of Australian and English accents that she'd ever heard. So, or worse to that effect. And I decided after that I'd go do commentary. So
and I think that gives everybody at home a fair indication into why you led that with X to the point as well. David Christensen, the winner in the M split from Andrew Dutch. Ben Woods, who was third, is here joining us right now. Rhys Dickerson, Adam Holland and Tim Fuge, then William Yarwood, Matt Schmidtke, Mark Foster and James Franco in the top 10. Where'd those guys get to tonight as far as laps were concerned? 34 as well by the look of that. So everybody was on the same pace tonight. That is good to see. The replay's up to lap 20. So we've got a little bit of time up our sleeves here to finish this one off before we get outdone by the race replay. That's what it means for the championship situation. Rhys Dickerson still 53 clear of Chuan Wong and Matt Schmidtke and Adam Chiplin, both locked on 242, 231 for William Yarwood, 224 for Adam Lee Holland, 211 for Brian Bullock, Tim Fuge, Tim Watson, and Ben Woods has snuck his way into the top 10 there as well. But look at that, similar situation. 9 points covers 9th through 12th in this server. 8 points between 7th and 8th, 7 points between 5th and 6th. Of course, 9 points covers 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So that battle is going to ramp up in its intensity over the next 3 weeks. 4 Ferraris, 2 Porsches, 3 Bimmers, and an Audi in that top 10 at the moment. So again, the top 10 in both servers has whittled down from 5 different manufacturers to 4. This point in time. Ben Woods, let's bring you in at this point in time. Firstly, well done on the result tonight. Well done also on getting yourself into the top 10 as far as the championship's concerned. It's a tough little split, that AM split.
Yeah, thanks. I thought I'd drop in and say hi from the AM guys.
Right, we do appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good race. Very difficult. The tyre deck was insane in the Porsche. And listening to Matty Dench earlier, I've now learned I can take 2 tyres instead of all 4 for a cheap pit stop.
See, that's why we love it when Dench drops little subtle hints, because if you guys are paying attention, that automatically gives you something else in your arsenal, something else in your strategic mindset. So it is brilliant when people that are the top of their craft, the likes of Matty Dench, Brenton Hobson's another one, any of those guys that can offer any subtle little leg ups for you guys, it just improves the value of the spectacle. So just while we've got you, Ben, Watkins Glen, great racetrack. Fraught with danger though. You paid the price if you come unstuck tonight. Thankfully you were able to keep your nose clean by the look of that.
Oh, mostly. I took tyres and the top 2 guys didn't. I was hunting down Andrew at the end and I spun it. Didn't lose a place, but I think I would have had 2nd if I'd kept it pointing in the right direction. But, oh well.
It happens. Adam, just while Ben, stay with me. Adam, are we checking in with the AM Split boys again before the end of the season?
Round 9, I believe.
Oh, so we're taking their race at Bath. Okay, righto. Interesting. So Pro Split next week and then AM Split the week after. Righto. Or are we going to try and do what we did last week and take one from each server next week?
No, next week's just GT3, I believe, and then we got the 9. The 9 for the Bathurst race for the AM guys, so get their preliminary round.
Okay.
And then we'll finish it off
penultimate round.
And then finish it off with the GT3 Pro guys.
Okay, so Pro, AM, Pro for the next 3. Excellent, very good. Ben, what are you hoping to achieve for the final 3 weeks of the campaign here now, mate? Now that you've found your way into the top 10.
Oh, if I could just keep up the pace I've made, I'll be happy. Yeah, I've bugged Matty Dench a couple of weeks ago for some advice, and it's paid off quite well over the past couple of weeks. So if I can continue the form I've got, I'll be very happy.
Liam, anything for Benny while he's here?
I just wanted to ask if you've got a handle on how much chaos there was in the amateur race, or was it pretty safe in the around Watkins Glen?
Oh, there was the usual first lap crash into the S's, but apart from that, it was pretty clean.
That's good to hear. It's really nice to hear. Bodes well for when we come back to you for round 9, which will be spectacular. I think around Bathurst. Is that round 9?
Yeah, Bathurst.
What a round to be with the AMs.
That's awesome. Right. Normally, it's always a pro round as far as the broadcast is concerned. So to bring everybody the AM split, that will be a treat, no doubt about that. And again, credit where it's due, and we don't give them enough credit to our committee behind the scenes that acknowledged the ever-growing issue on a Monday night where the 3 splits were not fruitful enough to continue in that form. They've crammed it into 2 splits. The quality of the racing and the quality of the spectacle has been the great winner as far as that I'm concerned as a result of that move. And therefore, everybody at home wins as well because they're tuning in every week and getting top-notch entertainment. Tonight, no exception, all because a couple of the masters of the craft slipped up. Nothing from you? Okay. All right. The joys of not knowing, not actually facing your co-commentators, ladies and gentlemen. As you're looking, as you're talking to them down the line, you're just hoping they're going to say something back to you. Did you not off, Liam? Sorry to keep you awake.
You say that, you joke about that, but I was actually in the middle of a yawn now. I was trying very hard not to leverage the mic.
You're more than welcome to, because I have put people to sleep in the past. Hard to believe with my volume, I know, but that's not the point. Although that being said, I did get a pat on the back, actually, the other day. I don't mind telling people this because it's going to be written on my CV. Did get praised the other day for padding. We were up at the Caloundra Indoor Stadium covering Queensland Wheelchair Rugby League City Country, and the game didn't start bang on 4 o'clock, so my offsider Dave Nugent and I had a fair bit of fill time. Thankfully, Dave and I are well immersed in conversation by hanging out with Rugby League Ipswich and the Ipswich Jets and a few other things. And he knows wheelchair rugby league back to front. So he was feeding me talking points to feed questions back to him, just in the way he was answering the previous question. And then at the end of the broadcast, the boys did well with their padding at the start of the broadcast. So it was the word that came through from Q Plus TV. So if anything, I do know how to fill. There's no doubt about that. Hey, Woodsy, while we've got you, I'm going to ask you the same 2 questions that Liam and I asked the other boys when they were in here, Denchi and Simon Cox. Any particular car you've got your eye on for the new season when it rolls around in 6 weeks' time? And at the same time, any tracks that you're not racing on this season that you'd like to see in a GT3 calendar next season?
Oh, as far as the car goes, haven't thought that far ahead. I don't think it matters too much for my skill level, but I'm enjoying the Porsche, so I might stick with it, but we'll see. As far as tracks goes, I think I'd like to try these at Spa, because I haven't driven these there
Spa's
yet.
Been a regular on our calendar in the past, so you might get your wish. Might get your wish.
Fingers crossed.
All right, very nicely done. And what else is on your racing radar this week, mate?
I'll be back for Up and Comers tomorrow, and then the Formula Fords on Wednesday, and then I'll be watching the guys race the V8s and the Porsche Cup on Thursday.
That's an indication yet again, and Adam knows this better than anybody, and Liam too. Now he's spent enough time with us in this club. The great thing about the GSRC, you'll race 3 different nights, you'll race 3 different cars, so you really get to test your versatility by stepping out of something as fast as a GT4 into something like an open wheel or like a Formula Ford.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry.
No, so go on.
It messes with you a fair bit. Like day to day, I'm very inconsistent, but it's a lot of fun.
All right, very nicely done. Ben, thanks for that, mate. All the best for the rest of the week. Look forward to watching you guys in action in a fortnight and hearing about how you fare at the Nürburgring next Monday night. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Just gonna hop in and make the comment with what you said
Go
about
for it.
having the racing on every night of the week with different cars. One of the benefits there as well, if you are a more casual racer that can't commit to doing a series and doing the same race every night because you just don't know when you're going to be free, it works really well because you can just hop in on the night, see what it is. The servers always go with plenty of practice time, usually around an hour of practice, which for most drivers, if you have done a bit of driving, that's enough to learn the track and the car. and you can just get involved and have a bit of fun. So it's a good way to go racing if you're not one of the more serious drivers looking to really focus on championship. If you just want to be able to hop in a race with good people and don't trust the officials, it's a good way to do so.
And I want to give an honourable mention out tonight for old Johnny Hooper, 5th place tonight, and to put it in perspective of how much he's improved, the past 2 seasons where it's been 3 splits, he was an M. So he's basically just bypassed Pro-Am and gone straight to Pro and got a top 5 tonight. So good on him on his improvement, and he's still going up in the skill level as we can see, just to getting that practice in, getting those results.
Yeah, that's superb. Thanks for pulling that out.
Absolutely, and just chipping it away at it. Persevering with it, and continuing rather to hone your craft, learn your trade, learn your skill, and the rewards come eventually. So no, well done, well pointed out by Adam Lavis there. Well done to Jonathan Hooper. Liam, final thoughts?
Oh, it was just a night of superb racing, wasn't it? The GT4 was absolutely breathless.
Yep.
Couldn't take your eyes off it, as it always is these days, which is just fantastic. I think the boys were right to say that it's a championship that, although it is the opener for the GT3, it definitely deserves to stand in its own 2 legs and shouldn't be seen just as an opener. It should be given the respect it deserves by itself with the quality of the drivers in it. And then the GT3, you think you know how a race is going to go, and then 2 of the main stars just take themselves out of the running. So it just goes to show you can never count your ducks in motor racing.
And if anything else, it just goes to show that these guys, despite everything we come to expect from them, they are human and they do slip up occasionally. It happens very rarely, and in the case of someone like Simon Cox, you've got to take full advantage of it when it comes your way, that someone around you that would normally be an Achilles heel does slip up. You've got to snap that opportunity up and welcome it with open arms, because it doesn't happen very often. But it does go to show that even the best do make mistakes.
They certainly do. You just got to keep putting the pressure on. He's still looking for those marginal gains. You could argue, this race, he didn't really need them, but the gap wasn't that big. So, it certainly wasn't big enough for him to completely switch off. And, you think if that gap's out at 10 seconds, maybe he doesn't make that mistake, and maybe he comes home with a win. So, you got to just keep putting the pressure on. They'll keep making mistakes. And if you can just gain those last couple of attempts that you're missing to him, the championship's still on for Simon Cox this year.
Indeed it is. All right. Liam, pleasure as always, mate. You go and enjoy a replay of the Indianapolis 500. We haven't spoiled it for you. I'm glad. Enjoy that. You might even catch some NASCAR tomorrow as well.
Yeah, sadly I won't be able to watch it tonight. I'm absolutely shattered, and I know it can go for up to 5 hours. So I'll be saving that for tomorrow night. Just got to get through work tomorrow. If anything, it's motivation to stay focused on work and not idly scroll my phone at any point. So.
Yes,
so work will be happy.
exactly.
They'll be noting the increase in productivity, and I might watch the NASCAR. I don't know. It's not really my thing.
No, I'm umming and ahhing about whether I set the recorder up for it or not, because I'm not here when it finishes, and I'm not back until late Wednesday night after a State of Origin function, and that, of course, is coming up this week as well. So it's a huge week of sport. It's a huge time of the year for sport, because this week it's Men's State of Origin, Game 1 Wednesday night, Game 1 of the Women's on Thursday night. And you've got the Europa League final for soccer fans on Thursday morning as well, straight after French Open coverage wraps up from Roland Garros. You've got the tennis, of course, continuing for the next fortnight, right through until the traditional Queen's Birthday, King's Birthday now, long weekend in progressive and civilised parts of the country. There's your bingo card filled up, Grant Gill. And, of course... amongst that, we've got things like the Big Freeze at the G coming up. We've got the Ashes just after that. Then the Tour de France and Wimbledon. Then the British Open golf. Plenty of motorsport filtered throughout. It is a truly wonderful time to be alive. Thanks to Adam Lavis and Liam Banks for their efforts throughout the course of the evening. Let's thank all the people that make it possible for us to do what we do here each Monday and Thursday night on the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club, and the occasional Tuesday and Sunday as well. They include Waste Options, Blackout Electrical Solutions, Login Systems, we zigged when we should have zagged, West Orange Motors, and of course the great people at Astute Insurance, Finance and Wealth in East Brisbane, Fisher and Doyle Lawyers, and Flash Graphics. Let's have a look at what's coming your way on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. This is the agenda for Week 7 of Term 2. Tuesday night motorsport features the up-and-comers series, the Mustang FR500s from Virginia International Raceway. Super Sprint format, 7:55 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday night, they're lining up at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course first up for GSRC Formula Ford. 3 sprint races there from 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, immediately followed by the supercars from an old favourite, the real-world venue that lives in the virtual world, of course, Oran Park, Narellan, Western Sydney, southwestern Sydney, of course, Oran Park Raceway. Race start, 8:45 Eastern Time, 2 sprint races there to look forward to. Grant Gill and I are with you Thursday night for all the action from a championship that is delivering in spades. I'm not actually, sorry. Grant Gill and I, force a habit saying that. Grant Gill's with you Thursday night. Not sure who's in with him yet. Has Liam drawn the short straw or has he got someone else lined up? I'm not sure. TCR from the Interlagos circuit. I would normally be here, but I've got commitments elsewhere Thursday night. TCR from the Interlagos circuit. Race starts 7:30. That's round 7 of the production car challenge. And that has delivered in great value so far throughout the course of the season. The 2 Whitakers continuing to sweep up there as they've come to on a Thursday night over the last couple of seasons. 2 sprint races, the agenda. TCR from Interlagos kicks us off on Thursday night, round 7 of the production car challenge, immediately followed by sprint racing from Magny Core. That will be a beauty in the Blackout Electrical Solutions Porsche Cup. And that will be from 8:45 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Friday night, the USF 2000s take us to Okayama for a sprint round and an 8:30 Eastern Time commencement of racing there in wings and slicks. Then the Mountain Men on Saturday night. 32 laps around the mountain in a Formula Ford. We thought it was going to be a long one in the Legend 34s last week. It'll be just as long as the Formula Fords this week. Looking forward to that. 32 laps Saturday night. If you're signing up for that, enjoy it. Good luck. Monday night, we're back with you for the 3rd last week of term. Week 8 gets underway with a European doubleheader. We're off to, after an American doubleheader tonight, we're off to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps first up. Longest circuit on the calendar for the Waste Options GT4 Challenge. And 25 minutes the journey there. Then on to the Nürburgring for the final sprint round of the campaign for Waste Options GT3. All the action coming to you live from 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. And Liam Banks and Adam Lavis and I look forward to your company for that and more on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Before we go, don't forget gsrcmerch.myshopify.com for all your GSRC merch requirements. Make sure you raid the store clear, because John Simpson needs to clear the storage room that is being taken up by all the GSRC merch in his humble abode at the moment at the request of the other half. So, with that in mind, don't forget also that the GSRC GT3 Endurance Championship, with thanks to Login Systems, wraps up Sunday, June 25, with the final round of Term 1 and 2, Semester 1 of the season, the first of 2 GT3 Endurance Championships that will bring you in 2023 from the Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst, central tablelands of New South Wales, the best 6.213 kilometres of racing bitumen anywhere in the land, anywhere in the world, and 8 hours the distance there, 2/3 of a Bathurst 12-hour coming your way on Sunday, June 25, and the boys that rock and rolled through 4 hours from Road Atlanta yesterday. I'll be with you again for that. Brilliant stuff. Well done to Jared Knight. Well done to Simon Cox. Terrific entertainment on a Monday night, as per usual. It's delivered for the last Monday of May. We sincerely hope that you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Look forward to doing it all again. Somehow we managed to get through. I was wrapping this up half an hour ago, and then we ended up having a good chat, chinwag to Benny Woods. So, with that in mind, we've notched up another 3-hour broadcast for you on a Monday night. We cannot wait to do it all again. Same time, same place next week. Don't forget, Grant Gill and TBA are with you on Thursday. I will see you this time at same place, same time next Monday night when week 8 of Term 2 gets underway. Enjoy the rest of your week. Good luck to your teams in State of Origin. Hopefully you're back a winner. And if you're having a punt, do it responsibly. Look forward to working with these two gentlemen on the first Monday of winter, the first Monday of June. June 5, Dad's birthday, actually. Next Monday night, 7:30 Eastern. Look forward to you coming to then. And if it's anything like what tonight dished up, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else but front and center watching on the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Until next time, on behalf of the entire crew, I'm Zach Caben. Bye for now.